After 30 years of devoting myself to this family, the day I was diagnosed with a massive abdominal tumor was the day my husband Chen Guoqiao returned from the Northwest Military Region. He came back to divorce me so he could marry Zhou Qingge, the apprentice I had personally trained. Only then did I learn they had been living as husband and wife in the Northwest for years, their relationship long sweetened by deception. I refused the divorce to retain military spouse medical benefits. But my own son and daughter-in-law threw my belongings out of the house. I fell down the stairs, dying in utter silence, while faint laughter echoed from their happy family gathering in the distance. Perhaps out of sheer unwillingness to accept my fate, I found myself transported back 30 years. This time, I chose to apply for technical support missions in the Northwest. Rather than wasting my life on an ungrateful family, I would rather dedicate myself to the nation's development. Both you and Guoqiao get factory benefits. If he gave away those 3 pounds of cotton and a bolt of cloth, just let it go, don't make a scene, it's embarrassing to watch. The Zhou widow is young, with no parents around and 2 kids to raise. The little cotton and fabric she got isn't nearly enough for her family. As neighbors, it's only right to lend a hand. Besides, Qingge is clever with her hands and comes up with creative ideas. You're all thumbs, even nice materials would be wasted on you. My in-laws and Chen Guoqiao kept nagging at me while I was picking vegetables. No one mentioned that this benefit came from working double shifts all week. I had planned to make a new cotton-padded jacket for my son, a pair of knee pads each for my in-laws, and a lumbar pillow for Guoqiao, none of it for myself, yet when I tried to decline, they made me seem unreasonable. Especially Guoqiao's final remark, "I've heard that kind of thing all my life." It always made me feel inferior to Zhou Qingge, unworthy of nice things, living in constant self-effacement just to please others. In the end, all it got me was a serious illness and everyone urging me to get a divorce. Mom, stop lying, I never saw you go to the hospital, you've already held Dad back his whole life, what more do you want? 5. Li-Fin. I appreciate you taking care of my parents. But they've treated you like their own daughter all these years, let's call it even. At our age, why are we still fighting over these things? Sister Li-Fin, blame me if you must, it's all my fault, but please, let Guoqiao go. He's had a hard time all these years away from home. I clearly haven't done anything wrong, yet when I refuse their unreasonable demands, I'm the one being called unreasonable and immature. I suppose I've always been the one making the sacrifices. It started with my ration coupons for fabric, cotton, and meat, then came the years and energy I devoted to caring for my family. In the end, they wouldn't even spare my life. I can still vividly recall the forceful grip my son used to press my hand onto the divorce papers to sign. He treats me like a mortal enemy. It hurts so much. The pain shot from my arm straight to my heart, blurring my vision. I watched helplessly as the son I'd sacrificed half my life to raise triumphantly handed over the divorce papers, saying, "Aunt Zhou, hurry and get the marriage certificate with Dad, don't worry about her." His "don't worry about it" included throwing both me and my luggage out of the house. I pinched the green beans, fighting back tears with all my might. Chen Guoqiao's handsome face once again appeared vividly in my mind. As one of the few drivers in the factory who could operate liberation trucks, he commanded more respect than even the most senior engineers. His entire being radiated such vibrant confidence that you couldn't look away. That's why I fell for him and married him without hesitation, even though it meant moving far away. 30 years later, that same magnanimity has only grown more profound. Standing next to the elegantly nurtured Zhou Qingge, I still couldn't take my eyes off him. But it wasn't out of admiration, it was resentment. Resentment that my years of struggle and hardship had paved the way for their family's picture-perfect happiness. What's with that look? I didn't say anything wrong. By the way, I filled out the mentorship application for you with Zhou Qingge's name. Teach her some skills. Once she becomes a technician, life will be easier for her, right? Only by becoming a technician can she take my spot and go to the Northwest Military District. But this time, I won't give you that opportunity. I didn't respond, put down my work, and headed straight out. No matter how my in-laws called out or how my son shouted, I went directly to the factory. The supervisor was about to leave when I rushed over, still catching my breath, and said, "Sir, I don't want to continue the mentorship program anymore. Since I'm the only senior engineer in our factory, why not share my expertise in a company-wide meeting instead? That way, everyone can learn and grow together." What do you think? The supervisor's face lit up. Perfect timing. We have an evaluation next week. You can represent our engineering department and give a presentation. I'll update the announcement right away, sir. There's one more thing, I said, nervously clutching the hem of my shirt. After the experience sharing session, I'd like to apply for a technical support assignment in the Northwest. The supervisor tried to reason with me, but your mother-in-law isn't in good health. Your son just started daycare, and your husband, Master Chen, is always away transporting supplies. Are you really willing to leave, my dear? I find this term utterly ironic. Guochao's back pain has been severe these past 2 years, so it's good for him to rest at home for a while. Besides, technology transfer and mutual progress are matters of national importance, compared to the nation's needs. What are our family difficulties? Director. Don't you agree that my qualifications make me the most suitable candidate from our factory for this technical support mission? That's true, but this technical assignment isn't something you can return from in just a few months. Your family might not agree to let you go. Just help me make the arrangements. Director, as a technician trained by the state, serving my country is my foremost duty. Finally, the director gave his approval. Back home, Zhou Qingge presented the newly made knee pads to her mother-in-law, who tried them on with a beaming smile. The stitching is so neat, she exclaimed. Her father-in-law also smiled warmly as he felt the new knee pads. Good thing we gave the sewing machine to Qingge. Her work is far better than Li-Fan's. Zhou Qingge's 2 children were fighting with my son over candy, and it turned out to be chocolate they were squabbling over. Whenever Chen Guochao went on business trips, he'd always bring back things for others. I once saw him bring chocolate for Shunzi. But that stuff was expensive and hard to come by. It took 3 jean of sugar ration coupons just to get half a jean. It occurred to me that our family's sugar coupons all came from my work points, and we didn't have many. Last time my son was sick and wanted a sugar bun, I couldn't even bring myself to spare any. I couldn't help but clench my fists. Just then, my son, having missed out on the chocolate, ran over crying, "Mommy, I want candy." Chen Guochao immediately frowned, as if blaming my presence for disrupting their family's happy moment. But Zhou Qingge pulled another chocolate from her pocket and handed it to my son, saying, "Xiao Fei, don't cry. Here, take this chocolate. Auntie has plenty more at home." My son's tears turned to laughter as he turned and hugged her leg. She smiled sheepishly. "Sis, it's a misunderstanding, isn't it? Brother Chin gave me the cotton and fabric because he knows I'm good at sewing and mending. See, I'm returning them to you now." She was also wearing a new padded jacket made from the same fabric as the knee pads. I couldn't be bothered to argue any longer and just wanted to go back and lie down to rest. Chen Guochao snapped at me, "Hurry up and make dinner. We've been waiting forever. If you had cooked on time, the kids wouldn't have gotten so worked up." The factory operates on 3 shifts, and Zhou Qingge only picks the night shift when Guochao is at home. They'd time it so he'd bring the 2 kids over for dinner, leave them at my place after the meal, and then Guochao would drive her to the factory. That road from our place to the factory is pitch black at night. I wouldn't feel right not seeing her off, yet he never once offered to take me. I'm scared of the dark and too afraid to walk that road at night, so whenever my shift rotation landed on nights, I'd just sign up for a double instead. The overtime pay was higher, but I never got to keep any of those benefits, whether it was fabric ration coupons, cotton, or pork ribs. Ironically, I had the seniority to avoid night shifts, but I joined the rotation just to provide better food and clothing for my family. In the end, Zhou Qingge ended up with all the benefits. How is that fair? I retorted coldly. Everyone in this family has hands and feet. Can't you feed yourselves when you're hungry? The entire family's faces fell in unison. My mother-in-law charged forward in anger, but my father-in-law held her back and shot a meaningful glance at Chen Guochao. Chen Guochao raised his voice, making sure the neighbors could hear. "Song Li-Fan, who do you think you're ordering around? What kind of woman refuses to cook and still has the nerve to act so entitled?" I raised my voice even louder, not caring about gossip. "You call this asking for help? I cook every meal, wash all the clothes, handle both indoor and outdoor chores, and you're still never satisfied. They're your parents and your child. You should be the one taking care of them. What have you actually done? And how much money do you even bring home? What kind of man earns money but doesn't support his family, then bosses around the wife who's both earning and maintaining the household?" Chen Guochao guiltily came over to pull at me. I glared at Zhou Qingge standing in the corner protecting her child. She kept her eyes fixed on the floor, too ashamed to say a word. Exhausted from working double shifts and still thinking about my upcoming presentation, I couldn't be bothered to argue anymore. I shook my sleeve dismissively. "From today on, get whoever you want to do your chores. I'm done." After that day, I completely stopped managing any household affairs. The mentorship roster will be announced alongside my presentation at the tech department meeting. 5. Zhou Qingge avoided confronting me directly and instead complained to Chen Guoqiao and my in-laws. My in-laws were already upset about me slacking on household chores, and this just added fuel to the fire. They made snide remarks and even taught their son some hurtful things to say, which he now constantly whispers in my ear whenever he gets the chance. I simply ignored it and made it clear, if they want something done, they can do it themselves. If they can't manage, they should ask their son. After all, they didn't raise me, so they have no right to order me around. Chen Guoqiao stopped taking business trips, started working regular hours at the factory, and wanted to have a formal talk with me. To avoid arguments with him, I requested to cancel my night shifts and stayed in the duty room after work, studying the manual for the new machine under the lamplight. I bought a shiny, heavy-duty flashlight with my own money to light up the night path home. All these years I've managed the household on my own, I can certainly live well by myself. Under the guise of thanking her in-laws for looking after the children, Zhou Qingge began to ingratiate herself into the Chen household, eagerly taking on the responsibility of caring for the family. She didn't do much actual work, but her sweet talk charmed her in-laws and kept Chen Guoqiao thoroughly pleased. As for my ungrateful son, he got a taste of Auntie Zhou's affection ahead of schedule. Too bad there was some affection, but not much. Accustomed to a life of luxury, Zhou Qingge naturally refused to stoop to doing housework, managed to clog the washing machine hose just by doing laundry, ended up burning the bottom of the pot while cooking, even managed to break several bowls while doing the dishes. Every time she's asked, she claims she can't handle household chores, and if pressed further, she feigns dizziness, blaming her poor health. The Chen family naturally didn't dare keep her around. Who would risk their modest savings dwindling further because of her? So they turned to me once again. They just switched tactics, spreading gossip among the neighbors in an attempt to guilt-trip me. Coincidentally, my presentation at the conference was well received, and the factory publicly awarded me 20 yuan as a reward. I got myself a perm, bought a new dress, and treated myself to a stir-fry at the state-run restaurant. Chen Guoqiao rushed in with his parents, carrying his son in his arms. The moment he stepped inside, the boy started wailing, his face covered in tears and snot. Reaching out for me to hold him, I didn't even bat an eye and kept on eating. The mother-in-law pointed at the food on the table, spraying saliva as she yelled, "You heartless wretch, are you even human? Feifei is starving, and you have the nerve to eat, and how dare you eat so well all by yourself? How much did this cost? Whose family have I ruined? I'm spending my own money, the bonus I earned through my own hard work. Who exactly am I hurting?" Chen Guoqiao looked exhausted and helpless. "Li Fin, I know you've been wronged, but we're a family, we share both joys and sorrows. Lately, you've neglected everything, and the house is a complete mess. It really isn't appropriate for you to be sitting here eating stir-fry." I sneered. "Let's be clear, I haven't seen any of those so-called joys. I've worked myself to the bone taking care of your whole family while watching all of you enjoy life. Now that I've had enough of being your servant, you suddenly have a problem with it. So I'm just a free maid, is that it?" My father-in-law snapped, jabbing a finger in my face. "Every daughter-in-law lives this way. These chores barely require any effort. Don't think you're something special just because you gave some presentation at a conference. You're a Chen family wife. Your duty is to contribute financially, serve your in-laws, and raise the children." Chen Guoqiao tried to smooth things over. "Li Fin, if your job is too demanding, you could always switch to an office position with half-day shifts. That would make it easier to handle school runs and household duties. You'd have a lighter load too." He finally made the same demand as in my previous life, the very demand that would plunge me into domestic purgatory, stripping me of any ability to save myself. A circle of onlookers had gathered around us, pointing fingers and whispering about our family drama. My mother-in-law plopped down on the ground and started making a scene. "Come and see, everyone, look at this wasteful daughter-in-law of mine, dining out and living it up all by herself while the children at home are starving. What sin have I committed to deserve this?" Her son joined in, wailing along with her. Chen Guoqiao seized the moment to press her, his tone threatening. "Li Fin, let's just pack the food and go home. You wouldn't want the factory to think poorly of you, would you?" I was desperate to clear my name from the false accusations my mother-in-law had thrown at me. I dropped my chopsticks, scanned the room, and spotted the fleet manager. I hurried over to him and said, "Manager, may I ask, has the fleet been withholding our family's wages all this time?" The team leader was stunned and waved his hands frantically. that can't be right. Our team's wages and allowances are always paid on time. Well, that's strange. My husband, Chin-Hua Chow, hasn't given me a single penny. Let me ask you this. Does the factory's transport team usually have about 20 days of business trips per month? The team leader kept waving his hands. Last month, Master Chen had 11 days of business trips, the most in our team. Oh, that's even stranger. My husband was barely home at all last month, I said sarcastically. A nurse from the clinic chimed in. Last month when Zhou Qingge's eldest son fell ill, it was your husband who brought him here and stayed with him for several nights. My heart turned cold, and my smile grew bitter. Last month, my mother-in-law was hospitalized with a sprained ankle, and my son was running a fever, yet he was nowhere to be found. The crowd's puzzled gazes slowly shifted toward Chin-Hua Chow. Chin-Hua Chow's face flushed and paled by turns. He stammered, trying to explain, but I cut him off. Captain, tell us, how much is the daily allowance for business trips? Over 11 days, it must add up to nearly 100 yuan, right? The captain was confused but answered honestly, 8 yuan a day. 88 for 11 days, the crowd chimed in with admiration. Driving a big rig sure pays well. I nodded and turned to the onlookers. You all heard it, 88 yuan, that's enough to feed my whole family for days, but me, I haven't seen a single penny. My son's even getting skinny from hunger. As I spoke, I pulled Chen Fei in front of me, lifted his shirt, and exposed his slightly gaunt belly. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as some began criticizing Chin-Hua Chow for being despicable, while others rolled their eyes at the mother-in-law wailing dramatically on the ground. Chin-Hua Chow grew frantic, grabbing my arm. Li Fin, what are you doing? Don't air our dirty laundry in public. Let's discuss this at home. I shook off his hand and sneered. Discuss it at home? If it weren't for all these people here today, I wouldn't even know how much our household earns or how many days you've actually been on business trips. Chin-Hua Chow, is there any truth left in anything you say? Chin-Hua Chow kept making excuses. I've been saving all my income for our son. Even when I'm not on business trips, I'm busy with other matters. It's all for the family. I spread my hands open. Then show me the passbook. If there's money missing, how do you explain that? Without waiting for his reply, I turned to the team leader. Sir, isn't there a factory rule that workers must hand their wages to whoever manages the household finances? Please come back with us as a witness. I suspect Chin-Hua Chow has violated regulations by giving money to some woman outside. The team leader wiped the sweat from his forehead. This was a real hot potato. He looked at Chin-Hua Chow, his eyes full of questions. Chin-Hua Chow's face turned ashen. Through gritted teeth, he said, Song Li Fin, don't you dare smear me like that. When have I ever given money to some outside woman? I sneered. Who paid for Zhou Qingge's son's hospital bills last month? Don't you dare claim you haven't spent a single penny on her. Chin-Hua Chow was left speechless. I pressed my advantage. Chin-Hua Chow, you heartless bastard, how could you do this to me? I've been killing myself for this family, and you're out there keeping another woman, and you have the nerve to call me wasteful. You're the real spendthrift. The murmurs in the crowd grew louder. Some began pointing fingers at Chin-Hua Chow, calling him ungrateful, while others sympathized with me, saying I'd been dealt a tough hand in life. Chin-Hua Chow's parents couldn't sit still either, knowing full well that if this blew up, he'd definitely lose his job. They rushed over to calm me down, saying, Li Fin, don't be angry, maybe he lent the money to someone. Let's talk about this at home. Go home. I'm putting it bluntly right here. If we can't get to the bottom of this money situation, Chin-Hua Chow, we're getting a divorce. I turned and walked away, leaving Chin-Hua Chow's whole family standing there while people pointed fingers and whispered. The moment I got home, I ransacked the place to find the passbook Chin-Hua Chow had hidden. Just as I'd expected, the amount inside was pitifully small. 5. My chest tightened with frustration. I tore the passbook in two and tossed it onto the dining table. Then I packed a simple bag and moved into the factory's dormitory temporarily, waiting for the list of technical support assignments to the Northwest to be announced. For the next few days, I practically lived in the factory's library, studying the latest technical materials. The quiet of the single dormitory actually helped me focus better. Strangely enough, back at home, I was always interrupted by various chores, but now that I'm on my own, my efficiency has improved quite a bit. I had just finished organizing the divorce papers when Chin-Hua Chow showed up, looking even more haggard than the last time I saw him, with stubble all over his face. Li Fin, let's talk this through, I'm begging you. It wasn't until that first night walking home together that I noticed the new streetlight. He scratched his head. I wired it up myself so I wouldn't have to walk Qingge to her night shifts. you've torn up the passbook already, haven't you made enough of a scene? He actually thought I was the one making trouble. I felt that familiar frustration of punching cotton all force with no impact. I didn't want to argue anymore, so I just handed him the divorce papers. He glanced at them and tore them up. There's nothing between Jochinga and me. Why do you keep harping on this? Paying for her expenses, driving her to work, helping with her kids, even this streetlight was installed for her convenience. You never once considered that I walk this same route on night shifts. Did my safety ever cross your mind, Chin Chow? Infidelity isn't just about being caught in the act. Search your conscience. Have you ever shown Xiao Fei and me even a tenth of the care you give Jochinga? Chin Chow sighed. Chinga's husband was in our transport team too. Now she's left alone with her child. What's wrong with helping out? She's not like you. She comes from a good family and has never known hardship. So just because I came from a poor background, I deserve to be treated like this, I blurted out. He was getting impatient too. Your life is so much better now than it used to be. What more do you want? Better than before. I let out a bitter laugh, as if I'd just heard the most ridiculous joke. I work myself to the bone every day. Xiafei can't even have a sweet bun unless it's the new year, and you're over there buying chocolates for their family. Yes, I want more. I want a divorce. My voice was a little too loud in the quiet of the night. The walls in this housing complex are paper thin. A few nosy neighbors already poked their heads out. Granny Chen chimed in while knitting. Mrs. Chen, even we neighbors can't stand it, let alone Xiao Song. Look how many years she's worn that same padded jacket. While Zhochinga gets new clothes every year, her kids are always eating at your place, and she still finds time to go dancing. Frankly, she seems better off since her husband passed. Auntie Fong from next door joined in. Munching sunflower seeds, tell me about it. Sister Song here is a senior engineer working day and night, but a silver tongue still gets further than hard work. You said it. My husband rushed over to fix her pipes just because she asked, and even gave her 2 pounds of our rice. Chin Guochao turned pale at the words, but I just smiled and offered a few words of agreement. When we got home, everyone else was already asleep. Neither Chin Guochao nor I said anything more, and we each went to bed, to my surprise. After I finished washing up and rushed out the door, I happened to see Chin Guochao returning with black bread and soy milk. Zhochinga, who had just dropped off her child, was at the intersection and called out to him, Brother Guochao. He ignored her and shoved everything into my arms. Li Fin, I've thought it over. I was wrong before. From now on, I'll give you all the money. Let's make this work. I stood there numbly clutching the dark bread and soy milk. The warmth seeping through the paper bag and glass cup into my hands, yet it did nothing to thaw the ice in my heart. Let's live well. Those 3 words slipped so lightly from his lips, as if all the cracks between us, all the grievances, were nothing but child's play. His eyes sparkled with hope as he said, I took the day off to get a replacement passbook. Once it's done, I'll give it to you to keep. Wait for me. With that, he dashed out of the factory without a second thought. When I turned around, I was met with Zhou Qingga's venomous glare. I never thought you'd be so cunning, making Guochao trust you with his money. But don't get too cocky. He's just feeling guilty these couple of days. In the end, he'll always side with me. His money will come back to me. Just you wait. I couldn't help but laugh out loud and retorted loudly, as long as we're still married, I have every right to question how Chin Guochao's money is spent. What do you mean? His money will come back to you. Don't tell me the thousands of dollars withdrawn from the passbook I tore up ended up in your hands. The people around us gasped. Thousands of dollars was a huge amount of money. I shoved the black bread and soy milk into her hands. Take it. He said you've never had to struggle growing up, so you need more support. I know you love chocolate, but this bread and soy milk are his way of showing he cares. You can't say no. Zhou Qingga tried to leave but was blocked by the crowd of onlookers. She had no choice but to steel herself and retort. What do you mean by affection? Brother Guochao is just a kind man, that's all. There's nothing improper between us. Coincidentally, she was wearing a new padded jacket today. I seized the opportunity and grabbed it, saying, nothing improper. Then how did you get the subsidy from my overtime shifts to make this jacket? Did some other woman's husband sneak you fabric coupons? Sister-in-law Fong chimed in with a laugh. Well, it wasn't my husband, must have been someone else's. I've seen her wearing new dresses every few days, even different dance outfits for each outing. Who knows if besides Master Chen, there are other foolish men giving her handouts. A low-level worker like her couldn't possibly earn that much on her own. And her family always has chocolate to eat. When I got married, I only managed to get half a pound through Master Chen. who would dare give such expensive treats to their kids as snacks? You're all so quick to pin the blame on me. We're all women here, why must you gang up on a widow? Zhou Qingge was on the verge of tears, but none of us women were buying her act. If you'd kept your conduct above reproach, who could have said a word against you when you lost your husband? Every one of us helped look after your child and brought you food. And how did you repay us? Sending handkerchiefs to one man, crying in front of another. If it weren't for Leifen's soft heart, I'd have taken a broom to you long ago and knocked your teeth out. I chimed in. Well, I had no idea it went this far. Thought she was only targeting my household, poor my husband, spending money and effort, only to turn out as the big fish that didn't escape after she cast her net wide. Zhou Qingge's face darkened further. Sisters, you can't just throw around accusations like that. Sister Feng spat in disgust. You know exactly what you've done. We've been more than civil about it. With that, Sister Feng grabbed my arm and led the other wives away from the residential compound, leaving Zhou Qingge standing alone, biting her lip. After work that evening, Chen Guochao came to pick me up, hesitating as if he wanted to say something but held back. I figured he must have heard about what happened with Zhou Qingge from the wives earlier that day. He didn't press further, handing me a new padded jacket. It was a bit too large, but the style was exactly what Zhou Qingge usually favored. I didn't want to dwell on it either, so I acknowledged his gesture with a nod and followed him home. Back home, my mother-in-law had already prepared dinner, while my father-in-law was keeping our son entertained as he played quietly. For a while, life felt surprisingly peaceful and calm. For weeks, Zhou Qingge had been working the night shift, and every time she came home with their child, Chen Guochao would turn them away at the door. My mother-in-law glanced toward the courtyard gate and whispered to me, "What's done is done. Guochao is trying to change. Stop making a fuss about divorce. It's not easy for two people to stay together. Everyone makes mistakes in life. If we all held grudges like you, nothing would ever work out." This was a rare moment of gentleness from her, but I knew Zhou Qingge would never truly let go of the past. She needed Guochao to keep being her emotional crutch. The day my intern officially became a full-time employee, the factory announced the list for the Western Technical Support Team, and my name was right at the top. When Chen Guochao saw the notice, he rushed to the workshop to find me. "Leifen, when did you apply for the technical support assignment? Why didn't you discuss it with me? You've been planning to go there alone all along, haven't you?" This stretch of calm made me want to give him one last chance. "I heard the transport team is also sending people to the west for supply support. It'd be perfect for our whole family to go together. Xiafei could attend the military district school there, and your parents could use the military sanatorium. Wouldn't that lighten the load for everyone?" Chen Guochao clenched his fists and shook his head. "I can't go." "Just as well I didn't get my hopes up too high," I said with a sarcastic edge. "Seems like there's someone here you just can't bear to leave behind." "Huh?" Chen Guochao flushed with anger and embarrassment. "There's nothing between me and Zhou Qingge. I gave you my salary passbook. I've cut ties with her. Why do you keep harping on about this?" I sighed. I hadn't even named names, yet he was already getting defensive. "Shunzi, the guy you drive trucks with, told me everything. Every time you go on a business trip, you use the truck to haul goods on the side. Some deliveries take an extra half-day detour, and you get a cut based on the size and value. Lately, since you can't drive, you lent the truck to Shunzi. He promised you 30% of the profits, way more than your salary and allowances combined. I haven't seen a dime of that money. You know exactly where it's going." He shot to his feet. "What right do you have to ask Shunzi? Are you really determined to leave Qingge and her family with no way to survive? We had to split the cost of a washing machine with our neighbors, yet her family has all the traditional marriage luxuries perfectly arranged. So tell me, who's really making life difficult for whom?" I glanced at his mended sleeve cuffs and smiled. "By the way, Qingge mentioned you always ask her to sew for you. Said you think she looks most beautiful when she's mending clothes." Chen Guochao guiltily pulled his sleeves down but offered no further argument. I picked up the divorce papers again and handed them over. "Let's get a divorce. Save yourself the energy of hiding things from me. Maybe then you can finally breathe easier." 5. This time, my mother-in-law heard the commotion, rushed in, and tore up the divorce papers. She pleaded gently, "Leifen, don't be hasty with this decision. His father and I are willing to move with you. The Northwest is his hometown anyway. It's like returning to our roots. I'll take responsibility for Guochao. Let's make this work as a family." Chen Guochao tried to argue further, but his mother-in-law dragged him out, through the courtyard wall. I heard my in-laws pleading earnestly, "Son, listen to us. In the past, Leafin never complained, so we didn't interfere, but now that she's spoken up, you really need to think this through. Leafin has always had our family's best interests at heart, unlike Widow Zhou, who knows where her loyalties truly lie. Don't think I don't know that car accident you had last time happened because you were rushing to buy some dress for Widow Zhou in the heavy rain. You were badly injured, and Leafin was crying while making soup for you, genuinely heartbroken. And was it worth doing so much for another woman? Besides, Leafin is soft-hearted and can't bear to leave the children. She's been taking good care of us too. If you choose Widow Zhou instead, with her helpless attitude and inability to do anything, how difficult would life become for this family? Are you trying to send your father and me to an early grave? I sat silently on the edge of the bed, staring blankly at the doorframe. So my in-laws knew all along. No wonder they treated me like their own daughter in my past life. They had already decided I would be the one to care for them in their old age. The whole family had me completely figured out and manipulated. Sure enough, the next morning, my mother-in-law cheerfully discussed plans for the Northwest District with me, and Chen Guoqiao tacitly approved the decision. But I'm certain Zhou Qingge won't let their scheme succeed. Sure enough, right after Chen Guoqiao submitted his application, Zhou Qingge came running to me with tearful pleas. Why won't you give our family of 3 a chance to survive? I've already made so many concessions, why are you still coming after me? I found her words utterly ridiculous. Who's really persecuting whom here? You know perfectly well that we depend on Brother Guoqiao's support for our livelihood. By forcing him to stay away from me, you're cutting off our means of survival. Song Leafin, you have such a cruel heart. I shrugged. Why not come with us to the Northwest? You could keep living this way there. Nobody knows about these things out there. And you wouldn't have to face people's scorn. That's easy for you to say. Without a transfer order, I can't even get through the gates of the Northwest Military District. Are you really trying to get the 3 of us killed? I shrugged again. If Chen Guoqiao is your way out, what's the point of complaining to me? Shouldn't you be doing everything you can to win him over? Weren't you full of tricks before? Cry a little, make a scene, play sick, or even threaten him with charges of misconduct. If you want to survive, there's always a way. Her eyes lit up, but then she looked at me suspiciously. You'd really be this kind and teach me? I've filed for divorce twice, but you tore up the papers both times. I'd rather you put in the effort to make a clean break. Let those who should leave go, and those who should stay stay. Zhou Qingge lifted her chin. Don't worry, Brother Guoqiao will definitely stay. You'll regret it when the time comes. Regret? I couldn't ask for anything more. As it happens, I only packed my own luggage. The factory organized several farewell gatherings for me, partly to address technical questions and partly to see me off. The people in the residential compound were both colleagues and neighbors, and since no one knew when I'd be back, every gathering was filled with a warm and lively atmosphere. Just as the final farewell gathering was about to begin, news came that Zhou Qingge was threatening to jump from the factory building. I never expected her to make such a scene. Dressed in pure white, she stood at the edge of the factory building, tears welling in her eyes, looking utterly vulnerable. Brother Guoqiao, I know you didn't mean for that to happen the other day, but we've crossed a line. I really can't go on living like this. Chen Guoqiao rushed out, panting heavily, nearly dropping to his knees before Zhou Qingge. Qingge, what happened that day was all my fault. You mustn't punish yourself. Come down from there. We can work this out. Zhou Qingge pleaded softly. Then can you promise not to leave? My reputation is already ruined. If you go to the Northwest, with no one to support us, my children and I won't survive. I promise you, I won't leave. I'll stay by your side. If your reputation is ruined, I'll take responsibility. Please, come down. All right, Sister Fong sneered, holding a handful of sunflower seeds. Master Chen, you're something else. Your own wife is standing right here, yet you're busy taking responsibility for another woman. Only then did Chen Guoqiao notice me and hurriedly moved toward me. But he was stopped by Zhou Qingge's words. Brother Guoqiao, since you can't let her go, I'll just die. I won't be a burden to you anymore. With that, she jumped off the edge of the factory building. Terrified, Chen Guoqiao rushed over. Fortunately, there was a stack of hay bales below the building, and Zhou Qingge landed on them, knocked unconscious. The ambulance arrived quickly, and Chen Guoqiao didn't even spare me a glance as he hurriedly followed it to the hospital. Colleagues and neighbors from the tea gathering stood around me, unsure of what to say to comfort me. My heart had already turned to stone. I shook my head and said, as you all saw, Chen Guoqiao treats me far worse than he does her. I won't stand in their way any longer. This marriage is over. I want you all to bear witness, it's Chen Wuchao who wronged me. Sister Feng agreed without hesitation. Song, you didn't even need to ask, I would have helped you anyway, you're skilled and young, you'll be much better off without that family, go ahead and move to the northwest. Master Chen's family will live to regret this. Colleagues and neighbors gathered around me in a lively buzz, all chiming in with Sister Feng's remarks. Even I, who hadn't shed a tear in so long, felt my eyes welling up. Chen Wuchao stayed at the hospital with Zhou Qingge for a whole week. Even my mother-in-law was roped into making soup and helping with school runs. Chen Wuchao's transfer application to the Northwest was deemed invalid because he was absent during the review process. A week later, he drove Zhou Qingge home and, ignoring the neighbor's stares, half-carried her into the house. He was overly attentive, doing everything from laundry to fetching meals. It was almost excessive. I submitted the divorce papers again. He didn't tear them up, but he wouldn't sign them either. You take Mom, Dad, and our son to the Northwest. I'll stay here for a couple of years until Qingge's situation improves. Then I'll come find you. Don't worry. That night was just a misunderstanding between Qingge and me. Nothing happened. And nothing ever will. So it's just like last time, I'm supposed to work my fingers to the bone supporting his whole family while he gets to enjoy himself with Zhou Qingge. But I won't give him any ammunition to accuse me of being unfilial or heartless. I turned around and relayed Chen Wuchao's words to Sister Feng. Sister Feng slammed the table in fury. This is clearly his scheme to send you away so he can carry on with that widow Zhou without a care. How dare he drag out the divorce while making you take care of his parents and kids? I've never seen such shamelessness. Honestly, you should even consider cutting ties with your son. Don't give that family any chance to cling to you. A woman has to toughen up at times like this. A good reputation isn't worth suffering for. Since he has no shame, let's hang his dirty laundry out for everyone to see. Sister Feng rallied a few neighbors to gather at the entrance of the residential compound every day, loudly discussing the scandal until the in-laws were too embarrassed to even step outside. Even with Zhou Qingge's thick skin, she couldn't handle the constant snide remarks from the female workers at the factory. Oh, planning another dramatic leap from the factory building, and you've even picked the spot with the haystack this time. How convenient. Rumor has it Zhou Qingge went crying to Chen Wuchao a few more times. 5. Chen Wuchao finally agreed to sign the divorce papers. On the day we got the divorce certificate, he put on this fake affectionate look and said, Li Fin, you'll manage on your own, but Qingge can't handle hardship. She wouldn't survive without me. I really have no choice. So what? Are people who can endure hardship just supposed to suffer their whole lives? I scoffed. That's a nice line. You think sweet-talking me will make me take your parents and son to the Northwest? You think I'll step aside so you and Zhou Qingge can cozy up? Dream on. From now on, you take care of your own parents and son, we go our separate ways, and don't you dare bother me again. Chen Wuchao hadn't expected me to be so resolute. A flicker of panic crossed his eyes as he said, Li Fin, don't be like this. With your parents and our son by your side, I can rest assured about your future. I'll send you money, and I'll come visit you someday. I couldn't even keep track of your money when I was right beside you, let alone from such a distance. The divorce is final. What more could you possibly hold over me? Li Fin, I truly can't let you go. After all these years we've shared, and we have our son together. Our son has his own path to walk, and I see he's quite fond of his stepmother Zhou. As for our past affection, I did have feelings for you once, but you've worn them all away. Since you've made your choice, don't expect anything more from me. With that, I decisively took the luggage I had packed earlier, grabbed the technical support offer letter, and headed northwest without looking back. In my previous life, though I had left the technical field, I'd always kept up with technological advancements and understood where the industry was headed. This time around, I finally have the opportunity to truly spread my wings. From technical support to technical consultant, I progressed step by step with steady determination. I remarried an engineer from the same project team. We share common ideals and pursue the same goals. We treat the new technology production line as our own child, devoting all our time and energy to it. Over 30 years of development in the Northwest, our standard products have evolved from lagging behind to surpassing world-class benchmarks. Exports have driven comprehensive sales growth, making significant contributions to the local community. After my husband and I gradually stepped back from frontline roles, we were rehired as senior consultants at the Information Industry Bureau, which had been restructured from our original factory complex. Time had changed everything, and the factory grounds had undergone a complete transformation. But Aunt Fong, The factory's longtime gossip hub with her graying hair, remained as active as ever on the rumor mill, upon hearing of my return. Aunt Fong rallied our old neighbors and organized a welcome dinner in my honor. They say Song is truly blessed, fortunate souls don't end up in unlucky households. Just look at her now, dressed to the nines and even holding an advisor title. After you left back then, Chen Guoqiao and Zhou Qingge really stirred up quite a bit of trouble. Everyone started chatting away, pouring out everything that had happened over the years. Not long after I left, Chen Guoqiao and Zhou Qingge got married. After getting married, Zhou Qingge became increasingly disengaged at work and was sidelined by the factory, receiving only his base salary. Chen Guoqiao's romantic entanglements became public knowledge, leading the team leader to assign him fewer official duties. As a result, both his overt and covert income dropped significantly. However, as their 3 children grew older, expenses mounted, and they soon found themselves struggling to make ends meet. Zhou Qingge was no pushover either. Seeing that Chen Guoqiao had no money, she began to resent him for being incompetent. Her reputation was so tarnished that none of the men at the factory dared to mess with her openly. She then hooked up with the businessman who came to buy the equipment, helped him drive down the price, but skipped town on the very day the contract was signed, even abandoning her 2 children. The factory director was so furious he ended up in the hospital. And his first act upon returning was to reclaim the company apartment where Chen Guoqiao lived. Chen's parents had no choice but to slink back to their hometown in disgrace. Chen Guoqiao had no choice but to rent a house near the factory, but faced increasing ostracism from the workplace. Struggling to make ends meet, he raised his 3 children under difficult circumstances. What's even more absurd is that Chen Fei, despite being Chen Guoqiao's biological son, was dumped on his grandparents back in their hometown at a young age. The elderly used the support money I provided for medical expenses, leaving no resources for his education. He dropped out after junior high and later lost a fortune in a failed business venture. Loan sharks showed up at his home, wrecked the place, and beat him up. After that, he vanished without a trace. Hearing this, I couldn't help but sigh at the unpredictability of life. Once, Chen Guoqiao abandoned his wife and children for Zhou Qingge, but now he's ended up with his family torn apart. As for me, once driven to the brink by their family, I've now carved out a fulfilling life of my own. The bankruptcy liquidation of the original factory isn't complete yet. As a consultant, I need to go on site to assess the equipment. The old factory area has long been dilapidated. My husband drove me there and brought along 2 newcomers from the liquidation department. Just as we entered the factory grounds, I spotted an old man in work overalls sweeping the floor inside the gatehouse. He was hunched over, with graying hair and a face etched with wrinkles. I recognized him at once. It was Chen Guoqiao. He seemed to notice me too. The hand holding the broom froze, and a flicker of panic flashed in his clouded eyes. Before I could even greet him, he hastily unlocked the factory gate, gestured for us to enter, and then hurried away, without another word. I led my husband and the new recruits into the factory area, explaining things to each of them and recording the data. This equipment is truly outdated, but these components can still be salvaged and reused. Selling them separately could even provide the workers with some extra allowance, my husband remarked. I agreed with his suggestion. As I was leaving, I saw Chen Guoqiao again, huddled in the corner, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. Once this batch of equipment is sold, the factory will pay out the overdue wages and allowances, I told him. He showed no reaction, but just as I was driving away, I heard the sound of stifled sobs behind me. Her husband said with relief, life must have been hard for them. They've clearly been waiting for this money for a long time. Look how happy he is. True, but some people bring hardship upon themselves by stubbornly choosing the wrong path. What can anyone do? I sighed. Fate isn't predetermined, choices are what truly shape our destiny. The car raced ahead, the scenery blurring past us. Much like my own life, the past was now behind me, but the road ahead lay clear and open. Story 2. After 10 years of marriage, Song Xiao achieved fame and success with my support, yet, he harbored a deep-seated hatred for me. After my death, he took over my family's company and married his childhood sweetheart. On their wedding day, Fu Yun, my former betrothed and now sworn enemy, detonated the wedding venue. Before the flames engulfed everything, Fu Yun said with a smile, she's dead, and you all rise effortlessly. Where in the world does such good fortune come from? When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to 10 years ago. On the very day I went with Song Xiao to break off my engagement with Fu Yun, he looked at me indifferently and asked, have you thought this through? Do you really want to break off our engagement for him, Meng Wei? I never go back on my decisions, I replied. Are you sure you want to break off our engagement over someone like him? He asked with a familiar chill in his voice. I was still lost in the aftermath of the explosion. The overwhelming blaze seemed almost painful, even to my soul suspended in midair. Fu Yun, holding a gun amidst the flames, pulled the trigger. Seeing Song Zhao's mixture of shock and anger, he smiled and said, "She's died to clear the path for your rise. Such good fortune doesn't come easily." At that moment, the invisible shackles on me suddenly dissipated. Suddenly, my mind was flooded with new insights. It turned out that in my past life, I was the evil supporting character in a twisted redemption story. I had preyed on Song Zhao, who was then impoverished, using his mother's medical expenses to coerce him into accepting my financial help and dating me. Song Zhao believed I had humiliated him with money and harbored resentment towards me for many years. After our marriage, he conspired with others to take over my family's company and carried on an affair with his childhood sweetheart. Eventually, he drove me mad, had me committed to a psychiatric hospital, and watched me die from a fall. Then he transformed himself into a newly wealthy man and married his childhood love. Finally, I understood. Fu Yun and I were childhood friends, inseparable from a young age. Yet, in my past life, once Song Zhao appeared, I felt for him as if I had lost my senses. Regaining my composure, I looked around. I saw the varied expressions of the parents on both sides and Fu Yun sitting on the sofa, his expression cold, looking up slightly at me. Suddenly, I remembered, in my past life, today was the day I had irreparably broken with Fu Yun. The Meng and Fu families were old friends, and today was supposed to be a routine family gathering. Yet I arrived late and brought Song Zhao with me. I immediately demanded to break the engagement with Fu Yun. I've never liked you, and now I have a boyfriend, so you've come to break off our engagement over him. Fu Yun adjusted his glasses. His gaze fell on Song Zhao beside me, filled with undisguised contempt. Song Zhao straightened his back, retorting, "What's there to be proud of? You're just a bit better born than me, a bit better." Fu Yun curled his lip, a mocking smile appearing. "You better understand, if Meng Wei hadn't brought you here, you wouldn't even have the standing to speak in front of me." This statement deeply wounded Song Zhao's fragile pride. In my past life, I saw his eyes redden with humiliation, and it pained me deeply. I immediately stood in front of him and lashed out at Fu Yun, calling him delusional, pestering endlessly. "Don't think I don't know. That high school boy who wrote me love letters mysteriously got hit by a car and broke his leg. You did that, didn't you, Fu Yun? People like you disgust me even with an extra glance. Apart from being born into a good family, what else do you have that compares to Song Zhao?" I hurled many harsh words, but Fu Yun didn't retort a single one. He sat there silently, as if he had turned into a frozen statue. After a long time, he adjusted his glasses and calmly said, "Fine, I agree to call off the engagement." Song Zhao turned around coldly. "Miss Meng, did you bring me here just to have me humiliated?" I clenched my hands tightly, pulling my thoughts from the chaos of having just been reborn. Hearing his words, I suddenly laughed. Humiliation? Fu Yun was merely stating the facts. You're someone to be trifled with at best. Do you really think you're worth his effort? You're overestimating yourself, Song Zhao. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire living room fell into sudden silence. Everyone stared at me in astonishment. From a couch 2 steps away, Fu Yun suddenly looked up. Behind his glasses were eyes fragile and clear like glass, showing a hint of unmasked surprise. "What did you say?" Song Zhao's expression became extremely awkward. I said, "You don't think you compare to my fiancé, do you? He always neglects me when doing business. I was merely using you to provoke him." I let go of his hand and stepped aside, as if avoiding something dirty. I issued an eviction order. "Now, you can leave." Song Zhao looked at me incredulously, but the butler, having recovered, escorted him out. Before leaving, he threw down harsh words. "Meng Wei, I'm not someone you can summon or dismiss at will. Next time, even if you kneel and beg me, I won't reconcile with you." He's so confident, it makes me want to cry, but right now, I'm too preoccupied to think about Song Zhao. I quickly run to Fu Yun's side and crouch down. In my previous life, I only found out long after calling off the engagement that Fu Yun had been hospitalized that very night. He had been sitting on the couch all evening because his stomach ailment flared up while he was on a business trip abroad. Despite desperately wanting to see me, he had endured the pain and rushed back. Yet, the first thing I did upon seeing him was to demand a breakup. I truly deserved to die. Our eyes met, and a flicker of realization crossed Fu Yun's eyes. he mocked with a laugh. Using me to anger your boyfriend again. I couldn't blame Fu Yun for overthinking. In my past life, I indeed used him to provoke Song Xiao, trying to prove that he cared about me. Now, all I could do was soften my voice and feign ignorance. What boyfriend? Ah Yun, you're my only fiancé. He looked down at me. I'm not feeling well. Can you accompany me to the hospital first? Fu Yun suddenly frowned. Where does it hurt? Period pain again. Without thinking, I replied, yes, period pain. He glanced at me. Today isn't supposed to be your menstrual cycle. Due to Song Xiao, we had actually been in a cold war for a long time. I didn't expect him to still remember my menstrual cycle. My heart filled with a sudden surge of bitter emotion. It just came early. I gingerly grabbed his sleeve and gave it a shake. I need to go get a painkiller shot. Will you come with me, please? Fu Yun seemed lost in thought and remained silent for a moment before calmly replying, okay. As we got into the car, I instructed the driver to come over, insisting that Fu Yun should not drive. He didn't object and just sat next to me in the back seat, albeit with a noticeable distance between us. I asked in a low voice, Yun, are you mad at me? He slightly curved his lips in a self-mocking smile and said, how dare I? Those 4 words overwhelmed me with a flood of guilt. In my past life, controlled by the plot, my parents couldn't persuade me, and I ended up marrying Song Xiao. Using my family's assets to tirelessly support his company. Since Fu Yun was always competing with Song Xiao and taking his projects, I saw him as my sworn enemy. During those 10 years, the few times I met him were always filled with cold words. I never showed him any kindness. Yun, sniffling, I suddenly broke the silence. It's been 2 months. Did you miss me? Fu Yun glanced at me but said nothing, feeling a bit awkward. I tried to make conversation. You didn't bring me any gifts this time. Last time I did, you said my stuff was dirty and threw it away. He spoke coldly and then turned his head away, closing his eyes as if he was done talking to me. The last time Fu Yun returned from abroad, he brought me a whole box of rubies. When he handed it to me, he casually remarked, take these to make something small. Stop hanging around with low-class stuff. Both the rubies and Fu Yun's words had hurt Song Xiao's pride, so to appease Song Xiao, I had immediately thrown the box of rubies back at him. I don't care for your dirty stuff. Thinking about it, I closed my eyes in despair, cursing the ridiculousness of the original plot in my mind, which seemed like it could only have been written by someone with a decade-long brain clot. In reality, I could only slowly try to close the distance between us. Moving closer to Fu Yun, I turned towards him, pressed close, my chin resting on his shoulder, and whispered, actually, Fu Yun, there's something I need to tell you. My warm breath brushed against the small hairs at his ear. Suddenly, Fu Yun opened his eyes, grabbed me by the back of my neck, and moved me aside. Whatever act you're putting on with that Song Xiao today, I'm not going to listen, so save your energy. He frowned slightly, paused, and then added, also, if you're not feeling well, don't move around too much. Even as Fu Yun scolded me with a stern face, I noticed his ears and neck had flushed red, and he adjusted his sitting position awkwardly. Fu Yun, I tentatively called out to him, you wouldn't, just sit properly. He lowered his eyelashes, concealing the turbulent desires in his eyes, his voice slightly hoarse. You don't need to worry about me. The car stopped in front of the hospital. The icy and tense atmosphere between Fu Yun and me has significantly relaxed. I thought about how he was suffering from severe stomach pain, and I used the excuse to ask him to support me, taking his arm in the process. Suddenly, an angry yet sweet female voice interrupted, Meng Wei. I turned around to see Su Wan, Song Jiao's childhood friend, rushing up to me, glaring furiously. You did it on purpose, didn't you? Intentionally causing someone to cut off Aunt Song's medicine, just to force Song Xiao to bow to you. Her gaze shifted past me, and suddenly her eyes reddened. You once said that if I disappeared, you would convince that senior oncologist to come out of retirement to treat Aunt Song. Are you going back on your word now? Wan. Song Xiao quickly stepped forward from behind me, pulling Su Wan to his side to protect her. Then, with furrowed brows and a lowered voice, he said, Meng Wei. It's all my fault. I won't be angry about what you did to me today. Please don't make it difficult for Wan and my mom. From now on, I will obediently listen to you. I suddenly realized something. In my previous life, the specialist who treated Song Jiao's mother was someone I was able to contact through the Fu family. It's not. Before I could speak further, suddenly, there was a gap in my arm. Fu Yun withdrew his arm from mine, lowered his eyes, and let out a mocking laugh. His eyes carried a clear understanding and a bone-chilling coldness. So that's why you suddenly asked me to bring you to the hospital, Meng Wei. Is this what you wanted to tell me? Fu Yun's expression, which seemed cold and sharp yet as fragile as shattered glass, was all too familiar to me. In my past life, every time I confronted him for the sake of Song Xiao, he would look at me like this. Back then, bound by the original plot, I was wholeheartedly devoted to Song Xiao. I just found Fu Yun's pretentious attitude annoying. Now, however, it pained me, and I instinctively retorted, no, but he no longer looked at me. His gaze coldly turned to Song Xiao. Since you look down on me, show some real skill, even to treat your own mother. You still involve my fiancé in this act. Aren't you ashamed? Song Xiao clenched his teeth, a hint of humiliation flashing in his eyes. Fu, don't think too highly of yourself. He clenched his fists and said coldly, someday. You will pay for what you said today. Fu Yun ignored him and walked away without looking back. I was about to follow him but was grabbed by Song Xiao. Meng Wei. His eyes were downcast as he looked at me, his voice hoarse. Meng Wei, it's all my fault, don't be angry. As his chilling fingers grasped my wrist, memories of my past life flooded back, and I felt as if a cold, venomous snake was coiling around me. Don't touch me, it's disgusting. Caught off guard, I shook him off, leaving Song Xiao somewhat stunned, clearly in disbelief. After all, in the past, no matter how angry I was, as long as he showed a slight concession, I would relent without limits. Meng Wei, he tried to say something else, but I forcefully interrupted him. Since you always feel that me spending money is an insult to you, transfer the 600,000 yuan for your mother's treatment to my card within 3 days. Let's see just how principled you really are, wearing high heels. I ran all the way and finally caught up with Fu Yun at the hospital entrance. Fu Yun, I was panting as I grabbed his sleeve, but before I could speak, he turned his head. Meng Wei, there is indeed some old affection between you and me, he said coldly, but that doesn't mean you can take advantage of that, expecting me to endlessly yield for your boyfriend. After speaking, he tried to pull his sleeve away, but I grabbed it tightly. It has nothing to do with him, alright, I admit it. I didn't come to the hospital because of menstrual pain, I came because I wanted to bring you here. Your stomach problem flared up again, didn't it? Fu Yun, don't think I don't know. You don't eat properly when you're out dealing with business. He looked at me somewhat astonished, his gaze slowly sweeping across my face, as if trying to discern the truth in my words. Seeing his expression soften slightly, I quickly pressed on, dragging him into the examination room. The doctor, holding his medical report with furrowed brows, said, you need to pay special attention to your diet with chronic gastritis, especially when you're feeling unwell. Don't force yourself and make sure to come to the hospital promptly. Let's start within 4 for a couple of days. The sunlight streamed through the window, filling the room completely. When only Fu Yun and I were left in the ward, the air suddenly grew quiet. I ordered some porridge via delivery, and after it arrived, I cooled it with a spoon and fed him. Fu Yun, with his eyelashes lowered, seemed lost in thought. The doctor said you should eat something, otherwise, it will be uncomfortable during the 4. At my reminder, he finally looked up at me, his eyes, touched by the sunlight, reflected shimmering waves of light. Okay, he responded softly, finally willing to open his mouth, after he had half a bowl of porridge. Fu Yun gestured for me to put the bowl down. Phone, I handed over my phone, puzzled, and watched as he entered a series of numbers. What's this? Director Fang's number. The tumor specialist you've been eager to consult. Suddenly, I lifted my head, noting Fu Yun's pale face and the faint bitter smile at the corner of his mouth. Then it hit me, even now, he thought I had an ulterior motive. By bringing you to the hospital, I'm giving you what you wanted, so I don't owe you anything. I don't want you to bring up today's incident next time you come asking for a favor on his behalf, saying that just watching me eat porridge made you sick. Meng Wei, I'm human too. The sunlight slanted across his face, spreading a rare fragility across his stern features. A sudden tightness gripped my chest, leaving me at a loss for words. I remembered the incident Fu Yun mentioned, 3 months ago, when Song Jiao's studio was trying to secure a project. Fu Yun was the decision-maker on the client's side, so I went to him, cooked him dinner, and even brought gifts. While Fu Yun was in a good mood, I asked him, could you loosen up a bit, and let Song Jiao's team handle the project? The smile on Fu Yun's face faded almost instantly. He put down his chopsticks and looked at me. So, you came to see me today just for your boyfriend? Song Xiao really is capable, I tried to argue, But he interrupted me with his stern voice. A capable person wouldn't need to rely on you to secure a project through back doors. You can go now. I've already reviewed the proposal and made my decision. He won't be chosen. Fu Yun stood up, pulled back his chair, and dismissed me. I was so angry that I lost my reason, pointing at his nose and yelling, "If it weren't for Song Xiao, I wouldn't even want to see you. Just seeing you eat the food I made makes me sick." In my blurred vision, suddenly a hand reached out, wiping the moisture from the corner of my eye. It was only then that I realized I had been crying. Fu Yun withdrew his hand and said indifferently, "Don't feel wronged. After today, I won't bother you anymore. We're even now, Meng Wei." It was normal for him not to trust me since I had a history, while convincing myself in my heart. I fought back the tears and looked at Fu Yun seriously. "I'm sorry," he paused, slightly taken aback. "Love can't be forced. No need to apologize. Once we leave the hospital today, I will explain everything to your uncle and aunt, and we'll call off." Before he could finish, my sudden kiss interrupted him. Fu Yun's eyes widened in disbelief as he looked at me. I awkwardly rubbed my lips against his for a moment before pulling back slightly, gasping lightly as I clutched his collar. "No, don't talk about calling off the engagement." I steadied myself and continued, "Fu Yun, whether you believe me or not, the things that happened with Song Xiao before weren't my intention. I brought you to the hospital only because I saw you looked unwell and I was worried about your health." He looked down at me, his emotions swirling behind his long lashes, making them indecipherable. "Is this another one of your new lines?" I suppressed the bitterness in my heart. "We've known each other as long as I've been alive. So you can't just not believe in me. If you don't believe me, I'll kiss you again." As I said this, I moved closer again, but Fu Yun stopped me by pressing his forehead against mine, halting me just in time. His breath was close, his voice husky. "Meng Wei, do you realize what you're doing?" I responded, "I know. I'm doing what we did when we were 18. That statement was like a fuse, igniting all our senses in an instant. On the night of the college entrance exam completion, my family held a celebration dinner for me. I drank a few glasses of champagne and, feeling tipsy, pulled Fu Yun into my room. I asked him, "What does kissing feel like?" He quietly looked at me. "Meng Wei, you're drunk." I was slightly upset. "Don't change the subject. If you don't tell me, I'll go find someone else." Before I could finish, Fu Yun suddenly grasped my chin and pressed his lips against mine. A faint scent of lemongrass emanated from him. A gift I had given him for his birthday this year. Both his lips and the fingertips against my neck were scorching. My head was spinning, and soon all I could manage was to clutch at his shirt, overwhelmed by the intense heat that followed. Fu Yun's voice carried a deep, surging desire. "This is what kissing feels like. Do you want to go deeper?" Meng Wei, back then, we were so close, so intimate. I always thought that after graduating from college, I would marry Fu Yun, but upon entering school, from the moment I saw Song Xiao, I was inexplicably drawn into the whirlpool of the original plot. The needle for the forehead shifted, soaking a large patch of tape with blood. He glanced at me. "No need to apologize." Then, "Do you believe me now?" "It depends on your actions." Although he said that, his tone had already softened somewhat. As the month was drawing to a close, Fu Yun went to a neighboring city for business. I returned to school for classes, but didn't forget to send him messages whenever I found a moment. I was determined to prove to him that he was the only one in my heart. Fu Yun's birthday was approaching, and that afternoon, I planned to go to the mall to pick out a gift for him. Suddenly, I spotted a familiar figure from afar. It was Song Xiao. He hadn't contacted me since our last heavy conversation at the hospital. I was quite relieved at first, but now, when he should have been busy at the studio, he was entering a garden restaurant with a young man. My heart tightened instantly, and I hurried forward a few steps. As I entered, the man just happened to look up. It was like a bolt of lightning struck me, and I froze on the spot. Wasn't this person Xue Kai, who in my past life had collaborated with Song Xiao to bring Fu Yun and the Meng family to ruin? I stealthily followed them and hid behind some greenery, just in time to overhear their conversation. "Fu Yun has already gone to Haicheng. It seems he hasn't noticed anything wrong with that project." Song Xiao sneered coldly, his voice chilling. "I want more than just his company. I want his life. In my past life, I often found it odd. Fu Yun, born into the Fu family, was the most outstanding child of his generation. He earned an MBA from the most prestigious business school at the age of 20 and then returned home to take over the family business. Such a Fu Yun, why did he repeatedly lose to Song Xiao? eventually even losing most of his family's company to him. Was it just because he was the male lead, or did he possess some special information? What was this Haiching project they mentioned? Countless questions circled in my mind. I really wanted to ask Fu Yun, but I feared that confronting Song Xiao prematurely might accelerate the development of the original plot and push Fu Yun towards a predetermined fate. After much thought, I decided to start with Song Xiao and gather some intelligence. To prevent Fu Yun from falling into danger under the influence of the original storyline, after returning home, I asked the housekeeper to stew some soup, then took it to the hospital. Sure enough, I ran into Song Xiao in the hospital room. He glanced at me coldly and remained silent. I approached him with a resigned air, tugging at his sleeve. I tried to recall the tone of arrogance and weakness I used before. "You're not still mad at me, are you? I'm really upset too. You promised me you wouldn't have any more contact with Su Wan, yet the moment I arrived at the hospital, there she was, yelling at me. What does she think she is?" A flash of disgust crossed Song Zhao's eyes, but he concealed it well. "I've already asked her to leave," he said indifferently. "She came that day because she was worried about my mother's health. It won't happen again, that's for the best. Don't forget I'm your girlfriend," I said. "I've asked Fu Yun these past few days, and he said he would help get that expert to come out of retirement to perform the surgery on Auntie, but it will take some time. He's recently been thinking about investing in a project, but there's been a problem." Song Zhao's Adam's apple bobbed, and he suddenly turned to look at me. "What problem?" I pretended to try hard to remember. "It seems like, could it have something to do with the suburbs of Haicheng?" The next whole day, Song Zhao's attitude towards me warmed up considerably. He kept indirectly probing, trying to find out if Fu Yun knew anything, pretending that I wanted to reconcile with him. I finally got invited to a dinner with Shui Kai and others. Before leaving, I felt inexplicably guilty, so I called Fu Yun to inform him. But his phone was off. After some thought, I decided I couldn't miss this opportunity. In the private room with excellent confidentiality, Shui Kai raised his glass to me. "Miss Meng, I intend to invest in Song Zhao's studio. My name is Shui Kai. Perhaps in the future, we might even collaborate." I remembered that in my previous life, it was he who helped Song Xiao ruin most of the Fu family and annex my family's assets. I could only suppress my disgust and exchange pleasantries with him. After a few rounds of drinks, he seemingly casually asked, "I heard that the Meng family and the Fu family are old friends, and Miss Meng was even engaged to the current head of the Fu family, Fu Yun." What engagement? That was just the adults talking nonsense. He always makes things difficult for Xiao. I hate him to death. I looked at Song Xiao. From childhood, there has only been one person I liked, and that's Xiao. If it weren't for Xiao, I wouldn't bear with the disgust to deal with him. While saying these things, my mind was filled with the faces of Song Xiao and Shui Kai. The displayed hatred was too real and deep, making everyone in the private room burst into laughter. Miss Meng truly has a discerning eye, able to see through the true face of a hypocrite like Fu Yun. Shui Kai leaned closer with a smile. "Then, could you tell me what he is actually doing in Haicheng?" Feeling drunk, I stood up. "Excuse me. I feel unwell. I need to go to the restroom." I staggered to the door of the private room in my high heels and pulled it open. A gust of cold air mixed with a faint scent of lemongrass brushed past. The light spread a thin layer over the familiar handsome face in front of me. I shivered, suddenly sobering up. Fu Yun stood at the door with an expressionless face, and upon seeing me, he slightly curled his lips. Wei. So this is the situation." The corridor was bathed in a warm yellow light. It fell on Fu Yun's face, yet it felt chilling to the bone. He heard everything. In the mix of smells, I suddenly pulled out a thread of messy thoughts. The surge of drunkenness instantly dissipated, my fingers trembling on the doorknob. A sense of foreboding overwhelmed me, and I instinctively called out, "Yun, better not call me that, lest you disgust yourself again." He swept a disappointed and chilling gaze over me. Then his gaze moved past my shoulder to Song Xiao and Shui Kai behind me. "Wanted to know what I was doing in Haicheng? Why not dare to ask me directly?" He chuckled lightly, his voice gaining a decisively sharper edge. "Think that planting a few spies in the company can affect my judgment? Your methods are as laughable as you are." Standing tall, his gaze toward those people was condescendingly obvious. "Clowns." With that, he turned and left. In the private room, Song Zhao's expression darkened, and he suddenly flipped over a plate. "What's there to be proud of? You think this is all I'm capable of? One day, I will watch him die right before my eyes." I really felt like slapping him twice, thinking about the original plot, yet I still dared not take it lightly. I could only manage a forced smile. I'll go back with Fu Yun first, and ask him what exactly he has found out. After saying that, I grabbed my bag and left. I chased him all the way downstairs, just in time to see Fu Yun getting into his car. Fu Yun, I gasped for breath and quickly began. Listen to me. I came here today to find out what kind of schemes Song Xiao and his people are plotting against you. Through the half-open car window, meeting Fu Yun's dead calm gaze, my voice suddenly faltered. He raised his hand, leisurely supporting his chin as if listening to some amusing joke. He even curved his lips slightly, chuckling softly. Are you going to say that this is all because you like me and are worried about my safety, afraid that I can't handle them alone? My anxiety and panic surged up like sea foam. I clenched my palm, forcing myself to calm down and explain seriously. Yes, I know you don't believe me, but Song Xiao is not as simple as you think. If his methods were only what he shows, I wouldn't. Mei Wei, Fu Yun suddenly interrupted me. Through the gradually closing car window, I saw his eyes, shattered yet still beautiful. You can't keep deceiving me endlessly just because I love you. After this, let's not contact each other anymore. After these words, the car window closed completely, the reflective film isolating everything. The black Rolls-Royce drove away without hesitation. I was left standing there alone. The cool night breeze blew over, suddenly giving me a shiver. In my past life, after I married Song Xiao, Fu Yun warned me more than once, saying he had ulterior motives and that I must be careful. No matter what he said, I didn't believe him. I even scoffed and mocked him. Are you just jealous of Xiao? Jealous that he came from an ordinary background, yet now stands in a higher position than you, a hypocrite full of lies. I won't believe a word you say. At that time, Fu Yun stood in front of me, impeccably dressed in a suit, his eyes full of pain. Coming to my senses, I had already gotten into the car and instructed the driver to head to Fu's house. However, Fu Yun did not return to the old house, nor to his own home. The car circled around most of the city, finally stopping under his company building. Looking up, I saw a light still on in the top floor office. Thinking of his sharp, resistant expression just before the car window closed, I suddenly felt a bit cowardly, so I went to a nearby convenience store, bought a can of beer, and drank it all at once to bolster my courage. Once the drunkenness slowly started to kick in, I entered the elevator and pressed the button. Floor 17, Fu Yun's office was on the 39th floor, highly private. But he never set barriers against me. When I pushed open the door, the large office was empty. From the tightly closed door of the adjoining restroom, the faint sound of water could be heard. Other than that, there was only the faint scent of lemongrass mixed with a slight smell of blood. My heart tightened, and countless scenes from my past life flashed through my mind, and without thinking, I pushed open the door of the restroom. It was just at the moment when I opened the door, in the restroom of the lounge, the sound of running water suddenly stopped. Fu Yun stepped out, drying his damp hair, but he froze when his eyes met mine. Wei Wei, my gaze uncontrollably fell upon him. I've always known that Fu Yun was remarkably handsome, yet, most of the time, his expression was cold, creating a sense of distance. But now, with the air filled with mist, his usual stern facial features seemed slightly softened. Droplets of water trickled from his hair tips, gliding along his smooth muscle contours, disappearing at the edge of the towel wrapped around his waist. His usually concealed pale skin was fully exposed, and a small mole on his waist shone provocatively. Additionally, his left forearm was wrapped in several layers of wet bandages, faintly revealing a hint of blood. He was indeed injured. Get out. Perhaps my intense gaze was too apparent. Fu Yun closed his eyes and coldly rebuked, yet, his tone lacked any real deterrence, whether driven by alcohol or instinct. I blinked. Instead of leaving, I stepped further in and shut the door behind me. You're hurt? I approached him and asked. Fu Yun, what happened? Your wound has started bleeding again. It needs to be rebandaged. It's just a minor injury. Fu Yun responded indifferently. I can handle it myself. It's none of your concern. Pausing, he then added, Miss Meng, you shouldn't be here in my office, especially not when your boyfriend. I wrapped my arms around his neck, my kiss, heavy with the scent of alcohol, sealing his next words. Stop talking. None of what you say is what I want to hear, I murmured, somewhat unclearly, as our lips met. The temperature between us escalated rapidly, in a disarray of steps. We both fell onto the nearby bed, the towel unraveling amidst our entanglement. After a prolonged and deep kiss, I leaned on Fu Yun's shoulders, gasping for breath. His eyes were filled with intense, dark desire, yet, he managed to speak with some difficulty. Is this because of him again? Of course, it's for myself. Alcohol and kissing muddled my thoughts, and without much consideration, the words slipped out. Isn't it normal to have some indescribable thoughts about one's fiancé after seeing him fresh out of the shower? My fingers, wet with droplets, unintentionally played with the mist-covered red points on his stark white skin. Pleased, I watched as Fu Yun's Adam's apple bobbed violently twice before he grasped my hand. Besides, since I was 18, I've been thinking about this. With you, Fu Yun, it can only be you. The air stilled for a moment, then, everything turned upside down. The entire world seemed to spin, leaving only the two of us. The remaining droplets quickly evaporated due to the intense heat. The ceiling lamp, like a small boat violently tossed in a storm, swayed just like I did. Soon, all that was left was the sound of our rapid breathing. Unexpectedly, my thoughts drifted back to when I was 18, to the night after the college entrance exams, when I got drunk and secretly kissed Fu Yun on the balcony. No matter how much I coaxed or teased, he would only agree to kiss me. Wei, you are still young. His voice was close to my ear, his body temperature scorching as he continued to restrain himself. I must give you a chance to change your mind. Now, Fu Yun. I only managed to utter 2 words, startled by the hoarseness of my own voice. Fu Yun paused, his gaze slightly lowered, looking down at me. The dense, fog-like emotions in his eyes surged momentarily, then dissipated. Moments later, he lifted his hand and covered my eyes. There won't be a second chance to change your mind, Wei. Outside the window, a heavy rain had started at some unknown time. Inside the lounge, the moist hot mist rose along the light. Fu Yun pressed on the most sensitive part of my lower back, varying between gentle and firm, his voice husky. Wei, don't hide, feel me properly. Thinking of the wound on his arm, I worriedly tried to prop up my upper body to check, but a sudden increase in force made me swallow all my words. I told you. It's just a minor injury. Fu Yun's slender fingers twirled a strand of my sweat-dampened hair. His eyes, usually cold, seemed to crack open slightly, revealing the intense emotions buried deep within. There's plenty of time, Wei, don't be so nervous. The fresh scent of lemongrass gradually mixed with the scent on my body, along with the smell of alcohol. At some moment, they blended, overflowing. At 4 in the morning, I dragged my weakened body onto the carpet, barely able to stand. Fu Yun, using his uninjured arm, hooked around my waist and pulled me back. You should rest now, Wei. I tried to look back at him, but your wound really needs to be rebandaged. Also, how did you get hurt? Fu Yun suddenly fell silent. In the suffocating quiet, I suddenly realized something. You don't think I'm gathering information about you for Song Xiao, do you? He looked straight at me, obviously acknowledging it. I felt a bit sad and a bit angry. We've already been intimate, I've said it. I was afraid you were in danger, so I went to Song Xiao to find out their plans against you. Why won't you believe me? I have believed you. Fu Yun's voice was soft. Over these 2 years, I believed you many times, Wei. Suddenly, it felt as if my throat was blocked. I blinked back slightly sore eyes, listening as he continued. But whether I believe you or not doesn't matter anymore. From now on, no matter how sweet your words, I won't let you go again. As for that Song Xiao, he's not as simple as you think, I blurted out, seeing Fu Yun's slightly furrowed brow. I took a deep breath. If I said that in a past life, I died at his hand, would you believe me? Outside the window, the heavy rain pelted the glass, the dark night showing no hint of moonlight. In the ambiguous light of the room, the Fu Yun opposite me seemed to freeze entirely. A past life. Fu Yun, have you ever thought that we might actually be characters in a book? Hesitating for a moment, thinking of the terrifying power of the original plot, I decided to tell Fu Yun everything. I don't know if it was a dream or a real past life. In any case, from the moment Song Xiao appeared in my last life, it seemed like suddenly, I could only see him. By the time I finished recounting those 10 years from my past life, the rain outside the window had already stopped, and a pale golden glow was spreading across the sky. The final project cost my parents their lives and allowed Song Xiao to successfully take over all our family's assets. He said he hated me because he endured unimaginable humiliation by my side over those 10 years. After that, he used the excuse that the shock I suffered was too great and that I had lost my mind, and had me committed to a psychiatric hospital. At this point, my voice began to choke up, even though so much time had passed and everything had started over. The 6 months I spent in the psychiatric hospital still felt like a nightmare. Every day, I was restrained and forcibly injected with excessive doses of medication. My brain was muddled, barely having any lucid moments. I also had to endure the near-death agony of regular electric shocks, so later, when I finally came to my senses, I escaped from the ward and jumped off the hospital's rooftop. My voice trembled slightly as I was engulfed in Fu Yun's sudden embrace and warmth. His hands moved through my hair, pressing my head against his chest. That was just a dream. I won't let that happen. Yes, you won't. I closed my eyes in his arms. The scene of the wedding day with fireworks seemed to reappear before my eyes. So even if in the dream you couldn't overcome the power of the original plot and save me, you still sent him to hell at the moment of Song Zhao's greatest joy. The familiar scent of Fu Yun and the drowsiness from a sleepless night soon lulled me into a deep sleep. In the dream, it was as if I had returned to my previous life. During those 10 years with Fu Yun, whenever we met in public, I attacked him with the most venomous words, relentlessly trying to bring him down, yet, he still wore the lemongrass-scented perfume. While I was alive, I despised him intensely and never cared. It wasn't until I watched him being engulfed by the flames that I suddenly understood, because that was Meng Wei at 18, before she ever met Song Xiao. It was the last gift Meng Wei gave to Fu Yun, 21. The first thing I did after waking up was to take Fu Yun to the hospital to have his wounds treated again. Keep it dry, and don't use this arm strenuously for the next 7 days, the doctor instructed sternly, then said, you can go now. As we got into the car, I turned to Fu Yun and asked, can you finally tell me how you got hurt? Under the dim light inside the car, he looked into my eyes and sighed softly. It was just a minor accident during a site inspection at the project. I suddenly bit my lip. Is it related to Song Xiao? Fu Yun's warm fingertips teased mine apart, soothing my lips gently. Don't worry, the only way he can hurt me is through you, so, you just need to stay away from him, and leave the rest to me. But I don't want it that way. I caught his slightly seductive fingers and said earnestly, Fu Yun, I've died once, in a sense. I'm even older than you now. Whatever you plan to do or how you plan to deal with Song Xiao, let me know and include me. Okay. He paused for a moment, then quietly agreed, okay, Meng Wei, I won't interfere with your decisions, but, try to stay away from Song Xiao, he advised. I nodded, then couldn't resist teasing him a bit. Are you afraid I'll be bewitched by Song Xiao again? Fu Yun nodded calmly, yet a hint of unmasked vulnerability flashed behind his lowered eyelashes. He was scared. It turned out that Fu Yun, who took over the Fu family at the age of 16 and was known for his decisive actions, could feel fear too. I cupped Fu Yun's face earnestly and said, Fu Yun, we've known each other since the day I was born. When I was a child, I was weak and often in the hospital. You visited me every day with flowers and comic books. When I had my first period at 14, it was you who bought me sanitary pads. After our first kiss at 18, I've been dreaming about you ever since. Without the original plot's brainwashing, I wouldn't spare Song Xiao a second glance. I've always loved you. Only you. Those words were like the key that suddenly unlocked Pandora's box. In the soundproofed, enclosed space, Fu Yun abruptly pulled me closer by the back of my head and kissed me forcefully. The kiss was intense, causing a tingling pain on my lips, even numbing my tongue. My body went limp, overheated, as I sat on his lap, continuously slipping downwards, until I crumpled his neatly pressed suit shirt into a ball. I suddenly remembered the doctor's advice. Wait, your wound, you shouldn't strain it. Fu Yun, using his uninjured hand, scooped me back up and firmly seated me on his lap. Because of the slight exertion, the muscles in his thigh, encased in his tailored trousers, tensed up. Feeling scorching to the touch, I wavered, instinctively bracing myself against his leg. Fu Yun let out a low groan, his voice raspy. It felt as if there was a fire burning hotter and hotter in front of my fingertips. My reason was instantly incinerated. My hands moved forward inch by inch, reaching for that blazing fire. At the same moment, Fu Yun's husky voice, filled with restrained desire, echoed in my ears. Then I'll leave it to you, Wei Wei, show me the dreams you've had about me. After that day, Song Xiao didn't contact me for a long time. I went around the hospital only to find out that he had managed to get another oncologist out of retirement through someone else's help to perform surgery on his mother. That was probably his hero's halo. As graduation approached, I simply started an internship at our family's company ahead of schedule. Since the Meng family had long maintained cooperation with the Fu family, I naturally had more contact with Fu Yun. I planned to visit Song Zhao's studio later. Sitting across from Fu Yun, I bit into my bagel and began, according to what happened in the previous timeline. By this time, you and I would have fallen out. and I would start using my family's resources to help Song Xiao build connections and snatch an important project from you. Fu Yun suddenly looked up at me. His emotions were clearly visible under his long eyelashes. I quickly added, I'm just going to probe and see what his current plans are. Wait for me to come home for dinner tonight. Song Zhao's studio wasn't far from the city center. Without my relentless support, he wouldn't have been able to afford this place initially. As I entered, I saw Suwon sitting at his desk. Song Xiao stood behind her, bending over in an extremely intimate posture, almost enveloping her completely. It was just like in my previous life. I had already noticed countless times the inappropriate closeness between him and Suwon, which Song Xiao always denied. We had argued about it many times, each more explosive than the last. When I became nearly hysterical, Song Xiao would just stand by, watching me with tired eyes. Later on, all of this became evidence of how I oppressed and humiliated him. Coming back to my senses from my memories, I spoke coldly, "What are you doing?" The two people in front of me seemed to suddenly freeze. A moment later, Song Xiao straightened up and smoothed out his slightly wrinkled clothes. He looked at me, but his words were directed at Suwon. "You go out first." Suwon glared at me unhappily and then got up and left. Now alone in the room, Song Xiao resumed his cold demeanor. "Weren't you following Fu Yun? What are you doing back here looking for me?" He still tried to manipulate me with his old tricks. Indeed, if it were Meng Wei controlled by the original plot, she would now lower her dignity to apologize, professing her love only for him. She would then do everything possible to help his studio, proving that she was the only one who could offer him certain things. I slightly lifted my chin. "Recently, there's a project at the family company that was supposed to collaborate with the Fu Corporation. But I thought of choosing you." Song Xiao suddenly looked up at me, his Adam's apple moving slightly. I curled the corner of my lips. "However, the project has a long duration and involves a huge amount of funds. I need to first make sure how much you can handle." That night, I combined the information from my past life with what I had learned and told Fu Yun. I suspect that, because of my rebirth, the plot has progressed faster, and Song Xiao has already hooked up with Zhao Run, the newly appointed gang leader in Nanjing. In my past life, he only met that person several years later, and with his current power, collaborating with such a person is akin to consorting with a tiger. Thinking this, I frowned slightly. Fu Yun, who had been looking over a contract, paused and looked up at me. "That's because Xue Kai can no longer provide him with help." I was startled. In the Haicheng project, they planted a mole in a subsidiary to steal accounts and create false impressions. Now Xue Kai and his men are already in prison. He flipped to the next page of the documents in his hand, his tone as calm as usual. "Song Zhao's company is just starting up. He's too weak and can only depend on others." I suddenly realized, "You orchestrated this." Fu Yun did not argue, evidently accepting my statement. I blinked and threw myself into his arms. Yun, you're incredible." He caught my wandering hand, suddenly adopting a serious expression. Wei. Don't get involved in what comes next." "Why?" "Because it's dangerous," he said, slightly furrowing his brow. "Song Zhao's identity is not as simple as you think. Otherwise, Zhao Run wouldn't have agreed so readily to collaborate with him." I was suddenly stunned. "You said that in my past life, I chose the most tragic way to perish together with them." Fu Yun's tone remained steady, yet it inexplicably carried a chilling undertone. "That must have been because I had no other choice left." That night, I dreamt again. I dreamt of my previous life. In the 6th year of my marriage to Song Xiao, at a certain evening banquet, I saw him standing closely with Zhao Run's daughter, Zhao Yi, in an intimate posture, and then, inexplicably, I went mad with jealousy. Losing all reason, I sent people to kidnap Zhao Yi, but ended up being taken away by Zhao Run's men instead. A cold dagger pressed against my neck, slowly tracing down along the contours of my body. I thought I would die there. In the end, Song Xiao, with an indifferent face, walked through the door and took me away from the gang, opened the door for another woman who was elegantly dressed. As they both entered the building, I felt a pang of unease. The scene from my dream flashed before my eyes, intertwining with the reality in front of me, and a chill ran down my spine. Because of this, in my past life, I always believed that he was only superficially indifferent, but deep down, he still had feelings for me. But in this dream, it was like a sudden change of scenes in a movie. I saw another room where Zhao Run, with his scarred face, was sitting, along with the expressionless Fu Yun by his side. In front of them was a large screen, frozen on the image of a dagger pressed against my neck. Zhao Run chuckled lightly. "So, Mr. Fu, have you considered my proposal for collaboration? Fu Yun, with his beautiful eyes, looked at my tear-streaked face without any change in expression. A few seconds later, he shifted his gaze. I agree, let Meng Wei leave safely. Zhao Run smiled satisfiedly. Mr. Fu is a smart man. It's a pity, though, if you had agreed to become my son-in-law, we could have been family in the future. Fu Yun responded distantly. I am not so fortunate. After he stood up and left, Song Xiao and Zhao Yi pushed the door and entered. Zhao Yi sighed with a bit of regret. Dad, has Fu Yun agreed to cooperate with us? Zhao Run nodded. Such poor taste. Preferring that foolish Meng Wei over marrying me, she laughed and turned her head to look at Song Xiao. Brother, when will you divorce this fool and marry Sister Su Wan? I abruptly opened my eyes. It was dark around me, with only a sliver of moonlight seeping in through the window. The scenes from the dream still lingered in my mind, quickly connecting with other information I knew, revealing the hidden truths of my past life. Wei Wei. I barely moved when Fu Yun next to me pulled me into his embrace, holding me. He stayed quiet for a few seconds, then spoke with concern. You're trembling. I know now. I closed my eyes, inhaling his familiar, crisp scent. I know now, Yun, that Song Xiao is Zhao Run's illegitimate son. Zhao Run agreed to cooperate with him now because they have recognized each other as father and son. Fu Yun was completely indifferent to Song Zhao's real identity. He just held me tighter. What did you dream about? I wrapped my arms around his slim waist, my voice choked. I'm sorry, Fu Yun. I finally understood that in my past life, under the schemes of Song Xiao and the Zhao family, I became a hostage threatening Fu Yun. The Fu family's business was forced into disreputable dealings, so, in the end, Fu Yun chose to perish with everyone at that grand wedding. Thankfully, in this life, I've awakened from the original plot's constraints. There's still time. Once I calmed down, I recounted the scenes from the dream. Fu Yun's hands behind my back suddenly tightened slightly, his voice cold as ice. Zhao Yi, I understand. He opened the car door. Next, Fu Yun, dressed in a suit, stepped out with a faint smile on his lips. I don't know what he said, but Zhao Yi covered her mouth, laughing as she pulled something resembling a letter from her small bag and handed it to him. Then she got into the car and left. Fu Yun stood still, surveying his surroundings. When he passed by my car, he paused. I was certain he recognized me, yet, he acted as if he saw nothing, calmly shifting his gaze and went upstairs. A profound sense of sorrow suddenly spread through my heart. So, was this how Fu Yun felt all those countless times he saw me with Song Xiao? I pushed open the car door, went upstairs, and found Fu Yun in his office. He looked up from behind his desk. Why didn't you knock? I replied sourly. Does Zhao Yi need to knock when she comes to see you? Fu Yun fell silent for a moment, then suddenly stood up and walked towards the lounge area. As he walked, he loosened his tie and unbuttoned the top 2 buttons of his shirt, standing inside the lounge with his collar partly open. He looked at me and said, "Come here." I deliberately dragged my feet, slowly making my way over. Just as I entered the lounge, the door suddenly closed behind me, my back pressed against the cold, hard door panel. But what pressed against my chest was the burning warmth of Fu Yun's body. He gripped my shoulders, his moist kisses trailing from my lips to my ears, then following the lines of my body, inch by inch downwards. Fu Yun knew me too well, including my reactions, the limits I could endure. What every tremble of my body meant. I felt like I was thrown high into the clouds, then suddenly dropped into an endless ocean. Fu Yun, I barely managed to call out his name, trembling, before being plunged back into the boundless ocean of bliss. In the end, before being completely engulfed by the waves, I heard his hoarse voice, heated with breath, close to my ear. Are you done checking? I still belong only to you. I turned Zhao Yi's letter to Fu Yun over several times. It turned out to be an invitation to her birthday party. As the main person in charge of the Meng's project in collaboration with the Zhao family, I also received one. That day will be dangerous. I'd prefer you didn't go. Fu Yun's clear, glass-like eyes looked into mine. But will you listen to me, Wei Wei? I shook my head honestly. No, then quickly added, because, under normal circumstances, we are currently cooperating smoothly. If I inexplicably don't attend the party, it might arouse their suspicions. This reason was sufficient. Even Fu Yun couldn't refute it. He stared at me for a while, then leaned in to kiss me again. Whatever happens, Wei Wei, remember, your own safety is most important. Soon, it was the day of Zhao Yi's birthday party. The Meng's project was actually a collaboration with the government, so many influential people attended, and as one of the 3 cooperating parties, Song Xiao thus successfully made many connections. I watched with a cold eye as Su-won followed behind him, sensing my gaze. She suddenly turned around and looked at me with a mix of triumph and provocation. Then, as if to show off, she hooked her arm into Song Xiao's. Such trash, better keep it to yourself. Looking around the venue, among the guests who came here, I recognized quite a few familiar faces. These were the business partners that Song Xiao was supposed to meet several years later in his previous life. Was everything accelerated because Fu Yun took the initiative? Just as I was beginning to understand, today's party's protagonist, Zhao Yi, made her appearance. She was holding Zhao Run's arm with one hand, and on her other side stood Fu Yun, wearing a faint smile. "Welcome everyone to my birthday party," she said with a beaming smile, her eyes briefly passing over mine with a touch of smugness. A waiter rolled out a massive three-tiered cake. After cutting the cake, she and Fu Yun came down to mingle with the guests and quickly approached me. "Miss Meng, I hope we will enjoy a pleasant collaboration on the upcoming projects." Zhao Yi smiled at me, then suddenly turned to ask Fu Yun, "I heard you and Miss Meng were close before, even betrothed as children." "That was just a family joke, not to be taken seriously," Fu Yun said, his gaze sweeping over me coolly before indifferently shifting away. "Besides, Miss Meng already has someone in her heart. We have no relation now." Even though I knew he was acting, I still clenched my teeth in frustration. It took me a moment to scoff disdainfully. I should thank President Fu for finally letting me go. He left with Zhao Yi at his side, holding a glass of wine. I soon found Song Xiao near the garden-facing French windows. He was on the phone, and Su-won, who had been with him, was nowhere in sight. I couldn't tell what the person on the other end was saying, but his expression gradually turned solemn. Outside the window, the first firework of the night burst into the dark sky, followed by countless more. These fireworks, meant to celebrate Zhao Yi's birthday, perfectly masked the sound of gunfire from a fierce battle at a gang's secret arms depot not far away. Recalling Fu Yun's earlier instructions, I discreetly moved back to a corner, getting ready to leave through the garden path. Suddenly, a bloodied figure burst through the main entrance. "Boss, our deal has been discovered." A gunshot rang out, and a huge crystal chandelier crashed to the floor with a thunderous noise. The entire hall was plunged into darkness, descending into chaos. Fearing I'd be caught up in it, I hid quietly in the corner, watching as police officers who had infiltrated the party subdued Zhao Run's men. Wei. Finally, Fu Yun's voice reached my ears. Taking advantage of the darkness, he came to my side and whispered, "The Zhao family's influence has been entrenched for many years. They might have other moves to make. Let's get out of here first." I nodded, my tense heart gradually easing. However, just as we were avoiding the chaotic crowd and heading to the garden, the night breeze carried a mix of unknown floral scents, and I suddenly smelled a peculiar odor. It was like a premonition from a past life. My pupils dilated, and I instinctively tackled Fu Yun to the ground, rolling quickly to the side. The next second, bullets stirred up dust where we had just been. I staggered to my feet, only to find myself targeted by a dark gun muzzle. "It's really you." Song Xiao held the gun, looking at me with almost hateful eyes. "Why do you keep sabotaging my career and opportunities? If you claim to like me, if you admired me, you should have been willing to give without expecting anything in return. But while you say you like me, you only look down on me with pity, from your high pedestal. Meng Wei, you truly disgust me." Even in another life, I was rendered speechless by Song Zhao's shameless words. So in the previous life, no matter how kind I was to him, pouring my heart and soul into helping him, he still saw it as an insult. He deeply believed that when I offered help, I shouldn't expect anything in return. "Do I look like a sucker to you?" His absurd logic infuriated me, and I couldn't help but say, "We don't even know each other. I spent money to help you. You should be thanking me. If you feel humiliated, you could have thrown the money in my face and told me you could make it on your own without my dirty money, but you didn't." The truth is, even though you've secured Zhao Run's support, you still rely on working with my family to win the projects you want. Without my help, you're nothing. The more I spoke, the paler Song Zhao's face became, but he gritted his teeth and said, "Someone like you, born with a silver spoon. You just don't understand. It has nothing to do with background." Fu Yun suddenly chuckled, interrupting Song Xiao, "Blaming others and shirking responsibility. Even if you were born into our family, nothing would change. Just like now, you've acknowledged your own father, yet you remain someone who can only advance by trading on looks." His gaze was contemptuous and unmasked, yet it seemed he was prepared all along. The moment Song Xiao lost his reason and fired the gun, Fu Yun swiftly pushed me aside. More than one gunshot rang out, bullets tore through flesh, bursting into a smoky bloom of blood. Drops of warm blood splattered on my face. All I could see was an overwhelming red and his slowly closing eyes. Fu Yun, in the hospital room. The smell of disinfectant overwhelmed the scent of lemongrass on Fu Yun. I sat by his bed. Teeth clenched. Are you insane? His eyelashes trembled, and he looked at me with a tender gaze. I'm sorry, Wei Wei. I just wanted to test something. After all our efforts to escape that irresistible force, I wanted to see if your fate from a previous life would repeat itself. That was why he deliberately provoked Song Xiao to shoot at him. In reality, the police officers stationed nearby had already noticed the commotion and followed. The moment Song Xiao fired, they too pulled their triggers, hitting his wrist and temple. If the original plot's influence was inescapable, Fu Yun would have certainly died under Song Xiao's gunfire. But now, because the gun was misaimed, he was only injured in the shoulder. But there were many other ways to verify this, wasn't there? Did it have to be with your life? This was the most certain way. His lips were pale from blood loss, but his eyes never left mine for a moment. If I had really died, Song Xiao would undoubtedly be sentenced to death. You wouldn't have any further contact with him, nor would you be sent to a mental hospital. For the next few decades, you would have a peaceful life. Wei Wei, he paused, his voice even softer. It fell gently on my ears, yet seemed to carry the weight of thunder. I told you, I wouldn't let those things from your dreams happen. I stared blankly at Fu Yun, my throat choked by an invisible force. Unable to speak, he was truly a bit mad. Willing to gamble with his own life. If he won, it meant we both escaped the shadows of our past lives. If he lost, his death would secure a safe and peaceful life for me. I reflected on the medicine injected into me in a past life, and the sensation of falling from a tall building. I recalled the look in Fu Yun's eyes, tear-streaked, in the dimly lit private room. I remembered the flames that suddenly erupted at Song Zhao's grand wedding. I thought of the lemongrass scent that had clung to Fu Yun for over a decade, constant as the days. Overwhelmed with tears, I suddenly grabbed his shirt fiercely, leaned in, and bit down hard on his lips. The sweet, metallic taste of blood filled my mouth momentarily. That's not acceptable. I spoke deliberately. Your life belongs to me. Alright, it's yours. Fu Yun's eyes, usually cold and detached, were now filled with a moist, tender emotion. Everything of mine belongs to you. Back then, Fu Yun found a way to connect with Zhao Yi to gather intelligence. Working with the police, they dismantled an arms deal worth over $1 billion, for their involvement in organized crime, intentional murder, and illegal possession of firearms. Song Xiao and others including Zhao Run and Zhao Yi were sentenced to death. All the guests at the birthday dinner and Zhao Run's secret network were gradually being investigated. Although Su Wan had no direct involvement with the case, she was sentenced to 2 years for her auxiliary role. Meng's upcoming phases 2 and 3 of the project naturally continued in collaboration with the Fu Corporation, using work as a pretext. I suddenly found many opportunities to spend time with Fu Yun, regardless of his attempts to seduce me. I consistently refused with a stern face. Your wounds haven't healed yet. We'll talk when they do. After speaking, I couldn't help but scold him, daring to drink with an unhealed gunshot wound. Do you have a death wish? His white shirt, soaked from the hot shower, clung to his body as Fu Yun opened his eyes, his pupils hazy with intoxication. A smile, indulgent yet helpless, curved his lips. I'm sorry, Wei Wei. He was tempting me again. I swallowed, feigning indifference as I handed him the shower head. Take your clothes off and bathe yourself. I'm leaving. I had only taken a few steps out of the steamy bathroom when I heard a heavy thud behind me. Hesitating, concern for Fu Yun prevailed. I turned and hurried back. As I bent down, he hooked his arm around my neck, pulling both of us into the large circular bathtub. With a splash, water flew everywhere. I couldn't help but scream. That was a custom-made dress I just received last week. I'll compensate you with 10 more tomorrow. His hot breath was close to my ear, growing hotter by the moment. Help me, Wei Wei. His kisses landed on my lips, grinding slowly until a stinging pain spread. Reluctantly breaking away, yet, carrying warmth, they trailed downward, disappearing under the water. How can I help you? My voice trembled sharply, swallowed by his fervent kisses. It's too hot. Help me cool down. Liar. How could I possibly cool him down? I could only follow his lead, plunging into the steamy tropical rainforest together. Then, a sudden downpour. With a cool touch, it streamed into the depths of the river. It was late into the night when I finally fell into a deep sleep. In a hazy dream, I couldn't tell if it was a past life or the present. It was a time before Song Xiao appeared. Wearing my high school uniform, I found a love letter from a boy in my bag. Then, like a film scene switching, the boy stood among a group of thugs, cigarette in mouth, eyes filled with malice. What's so special about the Meng family's young lady? Once I trick her into a date and drug her drink, she'll be at our mercy. The next day, on his way to school, he was hit by a speeding car, breaking his leg. Inside the stark white hospital room, Fu Yun pushed the door open, his face expressionless as he looked at him. This is a warning, harbor any more inappropriate thoughts, and next time, it won't just be a leg that breaks. Then the hospital door closed. He picked up the phone. On the other end, 17-year-old Meng Wei's spoiled voice came through. Fu Yun, my birthday is coming up. What gift have you prepared for me? Humph, if I don't like it. Don't expect me to go on the spring outing with you next month. Fu Yun chuckled, his tone indulgent. It's already on your desk. You'll see it when you get home from school. Outside the hospital corridor window, the sun was bright, and the cherry blossoms were in full bloom. A gentle breeze carried the pale pink petals leisurely past. It was the spring when nothing had yet begun, and, returning to my high school days, I accidentally bumped into the man who would become my future husband. At that time, he was still a carefree young master and teased me, saying, I like beautiful women with big chests, slim waists, and long legs. You, looking like a sprout, don't stand a chance. I nodded in understanding and replied, you're blocking my way to the top student. Later, rumors spread throughout the school that I was dating this top student. He was upset and cornered me, threatening, Qin Wan, if you dare to date early, I'll break your legs. It wasn't until university that the top student confessed his feelings for me. The man who once favored curvaceous beauties ended up sweeping me off my feet, pinning me beneath him, seductively coaxing, sweetheart, would you like to try what it's like to be with your husband at 20? I stumbled into a warm chest. Reflexively grabbing the corner of his shirt, a flood of memories rushed through my mind. Before I could steady myself, a teasing voice came from above. Qin Wan, have you also learned to throw yourself into my arms? Looking up, I was met with an extremely handsome face. His slightly squinted, peach blossom eyes were brimming with amusement, casting affectionate looks all around. I had seen his face thousands of times, yet my heart still skipped a beat from his stunning appearance. His name was Lu Yi, my husband, or rather, my husband from a past life. Aren't you letting go? Do you like me that much? Unfortunately, he paused mid-sentence, giving me a mocking glance. I like beautiful women with big chests, slim waists, and long legs. You, looking like a sprout, stand no chance. Indeed, I was never his type, so much so that in our previous life, even after over a year of marriage, he never touched me. I let go of his shirt, frowning as I took a few steps back. You're in my way. I'm looking for the top student. As I tried to walk past him, he grabbed my backpack. School's over. Why are you looking for the top student instead of going home with me? I yanked my backpack back, giving him a cold glance. Mind your own business. Qin Wan, have you become so capable? If it weren't for the old man's orders, this young master wouldn't bother with you. Ignoring my struggles, he forcefully wrapped an arm around me and carried me off to his car. I was so angry that my face turned red, pushing him away. Stay away from me. He slightly raised the corner of his eye, deliberately leaning in closer. Did you take the wrong medicine today? You're like a little pufferfish, so temperamental. Seeing that I ignored him, he chuckled lightly and hooked my chin with his finger. Are you upset now? Don't touch me. I swatted his hand away and turned my face toward the car window. I recalled the scenes from my past life where he flaunted his affairs. A voluptuously figured woman looked at me with mocking eyes. Can your plain figure ever arouse Lu Xiao's desires? Then, she casually pulled down her neckline, revealing ambiguous love bites. Have you ever seen his wild side in bed? In that moment, I felt nauseous. My marriage to Lu Yi originated from a drunken joke about a match between our families. We were young then, and both sets of parents were still alive. After my parents died unexpectedly, the Lu family took me in, unexpectedly. Lu's father, a man of his word, pressured Lu Yi to marry me after we graduated from university. Perhaps due to the pressure, Lu Yi didn't refuse, and I wasn't against the marriage either. After all, I was vain, and Lu Yi was undeniably handsome. Even without love, just having him as eye candy was a pleasure. I thought I could overlook his philandering, but reality proved otherwise, and deep down, I realized I genuinely liked him. I actually liked a scoundrel. This realization was something I couldn't accept, so I immediately asked Lu Yi for a divorce and moved out of the Lu household without delay. As the car drove on, I was aimlessly unsure of where to go, until a truck coming from the opposite direction hit me, and I woke up back in my high school days. The first thing I faced was Louie mocking me about my bean sprout-like stature, hitting my sore spot once again, perhaps because I was a premature baby and often sickly from a young age. My development lagged behind my peers. I always appeared much younger than my age, even though I was taken back to the Liu family 3 years ago and received meticulous care. My physical development still hadn't caught up with others my age. Alright, it's all my fault. Have some milk to cool off, Louie said, handing me a bottle of milk with a tone of coddling a child. I was so angry I wanted to smash the milk bottle on his head, whether it's the Louie now or 6 years later. He is equally annoying. He kept pestering me with chatter, playing with a lock of my hair as he spoke. When I finally couldn't control myself and kicked him towards the other side of the car window, he suddenly told the driver to stop by the roadside. As the car window rolled down, I heard Louie whistle towards someone on the sidewalk. Hey goddess, need a ride? Looking sideways, I saw Jiang Ruan, dressed in a black leather skirt and carrying a guitar case, exuding a distinct personality. She was the campus goddess of University A, and Louie often visited University A to pursue her. Despite his poor academic performance, he boldly claimed he would get into University A for her. Jiang Ruan didn't notice my presence in the back seat and was about to open the car door. Louie pointed to the front passenger seat. Goddess, please sit in the front. My little friend here is throwing a tantrum and won't let me get close. Jiang Ruan turned her head towards me and nodded with a smile. Once she got into the car, Louie's attention was completely drawn to her. All I heard were his compliments about Jiang Ruan. He commented on how pretty her skirt was and how nice the little braid by her ear looked. Indeed, Jiang Ruan was beautiful, fitting all of Louie's aesthetic preferences. Unfortunately, in a previous life, Louie couldn't decide on his own marriage, and his dream of marrying the goddess was thoroughly shattered. Jiang Ruan had joined an off-campus band, where she was the guitarist. They were scheduled to perform at a pub tonight. She invited Louie and me to watch their performance. I politely declined, using the excuse that I needed to go home to study, but Louie disagreed and irrationally dragged me into the pub. All you know is studying, you're becoming a nerd, he said, facing Louie, who was already 1.8 meters tall. I felt as powerless as a little chick. Other than calling him a dictator, I had no way to fight back. After we sat down, Jiang Ruan left for backstage preparations. After a few soft love songs, it was Jiang Ruan's band's turn. Different from the earlier sentimental tunes, their sound instantly electrified the venue. Even I couldn't help but be captivated. Jiang Ruan on stage, playing the guitar, was immensely charismatic. When a girl acts cool, boys really can't compete with her. I had to admit, Louie had really good taste. Jiang Ruan was someone even I admired. A hand waved in front of my face. Are you staring because she's that good looking? Yes, very cool. I brushed Louie's hand away and applauded enthusiastically for the performance. Am I cool too? I rolled my eyes at him as a response to his vanity. Louie clicked his tongue and shook his head. You've seen nothing yet. Let me show you what cool really is. As the current performance ended, he stood up and walked towards the stage, whispered something to the drummer, and then took his place. Under the spotlight, he winked at me as if to say, watch this. Radiating a mix of roguish charm and wildness, he effortlessly whipped the entire audience into a frenzy with his drumming. People in the crowd began to scream and take photos. That guy on the drums is way too handsome. Even Jiang Ruan couldn't help but look on with admiration. As we were leaving, Louie walked backwards in front of me, a smug expression on his face. How about that? I'm way cooler than those professional musicians, right? With a face like mine, I'd be a top-tier celebrity in the entertainment industry. Louie. Jiang Ruan followed us out, her voice still slightly breathless. Louie stopped and turned around, his eyes twinkling with amusement. What's up? Jiang Ruan approached him, seemed about to say something, but hesitated upon seeing me. You guys talk. I'll head to the car first. I considerately gave them some space. From the car, I watched the two of them under the dim streetlights, standing face to face. Jiang Ruan tucked her slightly messy hair behind her ear, her cheeks tinged with shyness. She clenched her fist, gathering courage, and the next second, she tiptoed and kissed Louie on the cheek. My eyes widened slightly. My heart squeezed by an invisible hand. Louie suddenly looked my way, even though I knew he couldn't see me. I guiltily averted my gaze like a thief. When I got back into the car, Louie casually wiped his face. You didn't see anything just now, did you? Nothing. He seemed relieved and ruffled my hair. Why do you still seem unhappy? Are you still mad about my joke earlier, calling you a sprout?" I pulled his hand away, not wanting to deal with him. After a quick dinner at home, I retreated to my room. I pulled out my exercise book, but the unfamiliar problems made my head hurt, and I eventually closed the book and went to bed. My mind was a haze, filled with jumbled memories that seemed about to burst my brain. Gradually, my entire body felt like it was in a furnace, my bones burning painfully. In my blurred consciousness, I seemed to see Luya's face, twisted and frightening. He reached out to hold me, and I stared at his cheek, starting to cry in irritation. I pushed his face away in disgust, but he moved closer again, so I scratched at his face wildly. He restrained my hands and held me close, his voice by my ear both anxious and restrained. "Sweetie, please be good, okay? We'll go to the hospital and you'll feel better." When I woke up, I was lying in Luya's arms, feeling sore and weak. He encircled me from behind, holding my hand as he clipped my nails. I didn't move, just quietly watched his actions. When he finished with the last nail, I moved my head and looked up at him. His handsome face now bore several scratch marks. "Luyi, can you be my brother?" He placed a hand on my forehead. "Silly, haven't I always been your brother?" A sense of security instantly filled the emptiness in my heart, like grabbing a lifeline. Perhaps in a past life, I was mistaken. Being family suits us better than lovers. After this realization, even looking at Luyi was more pleasing. I sheepishly pointed to the scratches on his face. "Did I do that?" He helped me sit up against the bed headboard and opened a thermos on the table. He scooped up a spoonful of porridge and brought it to my lips. "Who else would dare touch my face but you?" I gave a sheepish smile and apologized. I reached for the spoon to feed myself, but he moved it away. "Don't move around, you are my ancestor now." If the old man knew I hadn't taken good care of you, he'd almost come through the phone to smack me. I have no idea how he manages to be so well informed even from abroad. There must be a traitor in the family, daring to tattle on me. Listening to his complaints, I suddenly felt the urge to laugh. It's a blessing to have a second chance at life. This time, I will definitely find my own happiness. After recovering from my illness, I threw myself into my studies. In addition, I began to drink milk and eat nutritious meals actively each day, while persisting with exercise. I believed that with my efforts, I would develop better than in my previous life. When Luyi saw that I had signed up for yoga at the gym, he also enrolled in basketball. Usually, at this time after school, he would have already been gaming on his computer. After some thought, I advised him, "You don't have to exercise just to accompany me. I can manage on my own." He gave me a sidelong glance and said, "Who said I'm doing this for you? I just felt like playing basketball." I shrugged and stopped bothering with him. An hour later, after yoga class ended, I was leaning against the wall as I walked out of the studio. Just as I stepped out, a hand grabbed my arm and Luya's voice came from above. "What's wrong with your legs?" Holding back tears, I replied, "I've got a cramp." He sighed, crouched in front of me, and said, "Chinwan, what would you do without me? Come on, I'll carry you back." "No need, I'll just walk slowly." Ignoring my response, Luyi reached back, scooped me up, and firmly decided for both of us, "Hold tight, or don't blame me if you fall." "Luyi, put me down." He pretended to throw me, which scared me into clinging tightly around his neck. Delighted with his successful prank, he laughed heartily. "Now you're behaving." Annoyed, I pinched his cheek hard. He then suddenly sped up. "Luyi, slow down, I'm scared. Say something nice." Luyi is the kindest person in the world. Luyi is not nice at all. He's the most unreasonable person there is. This was my first thought when he accused me of puppy love. A week ago, after a dismal score on a pop quiz, I approached Yan Zhao from the next class, hoping to discuss my academic issues with him. After all, he was known for his excellent grades and was both patient and good-tempered. His way of explaining things was easier to understand than the teacher's, and I had consulted him before, so I sought him out again without hesitation. After flipping through my test, Yan Zhao gave me a strange look. "Did you intentionally mess up? You weren't at this level before." I gave an awkward smile. I hadn't touched high school material in years. How could I not be rusty? What if I told you I went to sleep and forgot everything I knew? Would you believe that? He neither agreed nor disagreed, simply bowing his head and starting to explain the questions. This went on for a week. As a thank you, I occasionally brought him some treats. Over time, rumors started circulating. People said I was feigning ignorance, using tutoring as a pretext to chase after Yan Zhao. Some even took photos out of context and posted them on the campus forum. A moment where I was quietly asking him a question by his ear was captured as if I was kissing him. A photo of me leaning on his chair was portrayed as if I was resting on his shoulder. When I was unaware of these images on the forum, Lu Yi suddenly appeared, with a face full of anger. He yanked me up from my seat next to Yan Zhao. Lu Yi, what are you doing? My hand hurt from his grip. His strength was immense, and I couldn't break free. After being dragged out of the classroom, Lu Yi pulled me into an empty classroom and trapped me between his arms, his voice fierce. Qin Wan. My heart softened a bit, despite my frustration. How long are you going to keep up this act? He looked genuinely upset. I'm not acting, you were being overbearing, and I just want you to understand boundaries, I replied, holding the warm cup in my hands. Okay, I get it, I'm sorry for overreacting. Let's not end the day like this, alright. He leaned against the door frame, looking more vulnerable than usual. I took a sip of the milk, feeling the warmth spread through me. Fine. But you need to learn to trust me more, and stop jumping to conclusions. He nodded slowly. I'll try, I promise. Can we go back to normal now? I sighed, not fully convinced but exhausted from all the day's drama. We'll see. Good night, Lu Yi. He smiled, a hint of relief in his expression. Good night, Qin Wan. He pulled back, finally removing his foot from the door as he closed it gently behind him. As I sipped the milk, I realized that despite our quarrels, there was a part of me that still appreciated his concern, however misdirected it might have been. Tomorrow was another day, and hopefully, it would be less eventful. I froze for a moment. When my parents were still alive, that was how they called me. After their passing, I withdrew into myself for a long time. Having just been taken in by the Liu family, I was very cautious and hardly dared to speak. At night, I would hide under the covers and cry, closing my eyes. I would see the scene of them leaving me. Crying would always lead to fevers and sickness. Lu Yi somehow learned this nickname, and he would always use it when I was ill. He'd coax me to take my medicine and get my injections, and it was only during those times that he acted like a truly caring big brother. Remembering how he took care of me in the past, I silently took the cup of milk from him. This won't happen again. His eyes lit up, and he immediately swore. I promise I'll always trust you unconditionally from now on. Knowing he had upset me, Lu Yi became especially attentive. The next day, the young master surprisingly didn't stay in bed. Instead, he got up early to wake me and even went as far as to squeeze the toothpaste for me. After I finished washing up, he mysteriously guided me to sit in front of the vanity mirror. Today I'm going to do your hair. I was almost scared to death when I heard this. What, did you take the wrong medicine? He clicked his tongue. You don't trust me. I've actually spent a long time learning. A grown man learning to do hair. Thinking about his flirtatious and frivolous nature, I wasn't surprised. It was probably another skill he picked up to make girls happy. I thought he meant a simple ponytail when he mentioned doing my hair, but then he took out 2 braided bands adorned with small pearls and expertly started braiding the hair near my ears. How does it look? Pretty, right? I was stunned and gave a thumbs up to his reflection in the mirror. True to his nature, he really put in the effort to charm girls. No wonder, despite his playboy traits, so many girls still liked him. If he were ever truly dedicated, he could be called a living legend. 12. On the weekend, Yan Zhao came to the Liu residence to see me. Upon seeing him, Lu Ye's face darkened by 3 shades. As a top student, surely you understand basic pleasantries, right? Yan Zhao pushed up his glasses and calmly stated, Lu, perhaps you're not aware, but I've been hired by your mother as Qin Wan's tutor until the college entrance exams are over. Lu Yi clearly didn't believe him, but before he could react, Mrs. Lu came downstairs. Seeing Yan Zhao, she warmly invited him to sit down. Mom, are we going bankrupt? Why hire such a mediocre tutor for Qin Wan? Mrs. Lu glanced at him disdainfully. Yan is not like you, who only knows how to indulge in pleasures. He has already self-studied all the high school curriculum. I knew this very well, having seen it in my past life. While all the other students were buried in their books, Yan Zhao was already leisurely studying university-level materials. I asked him why he didn't just skip grades and take the college exams. He said he wanted to experience high school life. I don't like this tutor. Get another one, Lu Yi grumbled. Mrs. Lu elegantly sipped her coffee. It's not for you to decide. As long as Nuan Nuan likes him, if you don't want to study, go out and play with your friends. Don't stay home and disturb Nuan Nuan's studies. Mom, am I even your real son? I've been wondering the same thing. In what ways do you resemble your father and me? Seeing Lu Yi defeated, I secretly chuckled. After greeting Mrs. Lu, I invited Yan Zhao upstairs to the study. Not long after we closed the door, Lu Yi followed, seemingly having a sudden change of heart. declaring that he wanted to study with us. Yan Zhao and I exchanged glances, not taking his sudden interest too seriously. 13. After forcefully inserting himself between me and Yan Zhao, he devised a new study method. If I had a question, Yan Zhao would explain it to him first, and only after he understood it would he explain it to me. He claimed, this way, the knowledge will stick better. I leaned heavily on the desk and sighed. Lu Yi, wait until you understand before explaining it to me. The dish has gotten cold. Who are you looking down on? I'm not stupid, I just don't want to study. Indeed, Lu Yi wasn't bluffing. He was the kind of person who got it right away. Watching Lu Yi explain the problem to me, I felt like the world was turning upside down. He tapped my head with his pen. Are you daydreaming while I'm explaining this to you? It was quite a moment. A studious person like me being lectured by someone who usually slacked off. I looked at Yan Zhao. Unable to suppress a bittersweet smile, he smiled knowingly. What are you looking at? Focus on the problem. Lu Yi leaned over the table, completely blocking my view. A month passed, and Lu Yi was still around, his friends no longer dragging him out to hang out. He insisted on staying home to tutor me. His friends were almost shocked out of their wits. Time flew by, and before we knew it, it was time for the college entrance exams. Lu Yi's improvement was nothing short of meteoric. What are you looking at? Focus on the problem. Lu Yi leaned over the table, completely blocking my view. A month passed, and Lu Yi was still around, his friends no longer dragging him out to hang out. He insisted on staying home to tutor me. His friends were almost shocked out of their wits. Time flew by, and before we knew it, it was time for the college entrance exams. Lu Yi's improvement was nothing short of meteoric. It was hard to imagine that in his previous life he needed his family to donate a building to get into a university through a sports scholarship. Soon after the exams, it was my 18th birthday. The Lu family threw me a simple and warm birthday party. They invited classmates who were close to me. Everything was almost the same as in my previous life. Except this time Yan Zhao was also there. After the dinner party, I walked them to the door. Yan Zhao, lingering at the back, presented a small gift box to me. A birthday gift. I hope you like it. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought those books you gave me were the gift. Isn't it more surprising to lower your expectations before giving the real gift? I couldn't help but laugh. Indeed, his presence was the biggest surprise of all. He was the unexpected that I had anticipated. Open it and see. If you don't like it, I'll get you another. I wondered what a top student would gift. My curiosity piqued. When I opened the gift box, I almost burst into laughter. Do you think it's tacky? I shook my head with a smile. No, I love it. After all, who wouldn't like gold? Yan Zhao laughed too. There are two ways gold can form. One is from the death of massive stars in the universe, and the other is from the collision of neutron stars. Two entwined neutron stars in a timeless stare explode in an instant at the end of their gaze, causing ripples through the universe and scattering gold across the vast cosmos. Such explosions of neutron stars occur once every 100,000 years, making gold a romantic embodiment of the galaxy. I held the gold rabbit necklace in my palm. Is this a science student's idea of romance? No, if it were anyone else, I'd just say gold retains its value. The atmosphere turned subtly profound. Nuan, let's apply to be university together. Holding the necklace, I thought of Lu Yi and shook my head to clear him from my thoughts. After a moment, I replied, okay. I returned to my room and immediately ran into Lu Yi. He makes you happy with a gift, but you won't even glance at mine. Who matters more to you? I felt guilty remembering how he wanted to show me my gift early this morning, which I had declined knowing what it was, a room full of princess dresses. I remember in my previous life when he took me to see it, I was stunned. Lu Yi, are you planning to start a wholesale clothing business? He looked disappointed. You don't like it? I'm 18, not 8. I'm past the age of dreaming, so this lifetime. When he suggested again that I look at the gift, I declined, proposing some other day instead. Nuan, do you like him? His sudden question snapped me back to the present. No, Lu Yi replied, his eyes harboring a depth that I couldn't fathom. If you say it's nothing, then I believe you. He handed me a pitch-black box. Happy birthday, 18-year-old Qinluan. As I watched his retreating figure, I opened the box. Inside was a key and an address. Driven by curiosity, I suddenly felt compelled to check it out. Half an hour later, I arrived at the destination. As I opened the door of the apartment, I heard my mother's voice. My dear child is home. Tears instantly fell as I entered the room. Everything was as familiar as the home I remembered. Two adorably goofy humanoid robots approached me. My father's familiar voice rang out, all grown up at 18, and still crying. My dear, I burst into laughter amidst my tears and followed them to the dining room. The room was filled with balloons, flowers, and photos of me from childhood to the present. On the table was an unlit birthday cake. A projection appeared on the wall, displaying videos of my childhood birthdays up until I was 8. In the video, my parents sang "Happy Birthday," and I made a wish with my eyes closed. My dad playfully smeared cake on my nose, and I screamed, opening my eyes to smear some back at him, laughing joyously. "What did you wish for?" my mom asked. Naively, I said, "I want to be daddy and mommy's little princess forever, with endless princess dresses to wear." My heart skipped a beat as those blurry memories became clear. I had forgotten I ever made such a wish. Reflecting on the past, it seemed like every birthday wish had come true, except for this year's, which couldn't be fully realized. Thinking back to when I was 18 in my past life, Louis had filled a room with princess dresses for me, bringing a sudden sadness. So that was why he had given me an exaggerated number of princess dresses. Only in this life did I understand his intention, and it made my heart feel uncomfortably full. The video continued, depicting the birthdays they hadn't spent with me, using animated characters to fill in. When it reached my 18th birthday, the animated character of my dad asked me to look for a gift in the room. I followed a path laid with petals to the balcony and pushed open the door leading to the next room. A room full of princess dresses met my eyes. For a moment, it felt like I had returned to my past life, but in that past life, Louis hadn't asked me to open the door to the next room. I had misunderstood his intentions, even feeling that he was indifferent, overwhelmed with guilt. I wanted to see Louis immediately, to tell him how much I cherished his gift. Yet when I returned home, I found Louis wasn't there. I called him, and Jiang-Wan answered. "Louis is drunk. Come pick him up." I hurried to the bar where Jiang-Wan was, and found Louis completely inebriated. I approached him and tugged at him a few times. "Louis, let's go home." He looked at me with bleary eyes and suddenly wrapped his arms around my waist. The gesture was far too intimate. My eyelids twitched, and I looked at Jiang-Wan, quickly pushing away Louis' hands from my waist to avoid any misunderstanding. "Can't I even hug you?" Louis looked at me with reddened eyes. "What about when you were sick and clung to me?" he added, overwhelmed. I raised my hand to cover his mouth, fearing he would say something more suggestive. I tried to clarify to Jiang-Wan, "Don't listen to his nonsense." Jiang-Wan looked indifferent. "Oh, I've known about these things for a long time." "You've known?" I didn't know whether to be surprised at her nonchalance or at how Louis shared everything with her. "His brain might not be quite right. You should have it checked," she suggested, just as I was about to respond to her personal attack. Once again I heard her say, "He was the one who said he liked me and wanted to pursue me. But it always ends up with me taking the initiative to ask him out. If he's not asking me to teach him how to braid hair, he's having me help him choose dresses." I said I wanted to date him, but he wasn't happy about it. He said he can't start dating early as it would lead me astray. Is he just teasing me? These words once again overturned my understanding. Didn't Louis like Jiang-Wan? I even thought they were already together. 18. It took a lot of effort to help Louis back into the car. He kept ranting. Jiang-Wan is a heartless traitor. Considering he was drunk, I decided not to argue with him. I tried to help him sit properly, but he pushed my hand away. "Go find your top student. Don't bother with me, since you only have eyes for him." I really started ignoring him. Then he began to look aggrieved, his eyes reddening. "Jiang-Wan, you're really heartless, truly leaving me to fend for myself. Haven't I been good enough to you? I worry about you getting cold when it's chilly, and overheated when it's hot. When you were ill and felt insecure, I held you all night long. My arms and legs went numb, but I didn't dare let go. Wishing I could take your sickness instead. Anything you glanced at, I hurriedly brought to you, fearing you'd lose interest if I was too slow. You casually mentioned once wanting a princess dress, and like a fool, I carefully selected them, saving for years until I filled a whole room. But you never even looked at them. Now that you don't need me anymore, you want to run off with another man. Don't think I didn't hear you planning to elope with him to University B, leaving Jiangqing. You're heartless. Why are you covering my mouth, afraid of me speaking the truth? I insist on speaking, looking at the driver in the front seat. I felt so awkward, it was as if I really had become a betrayer. Finally getting him back to the Liu household and into his room, he started making a scene again. He sat on the balcony railing, his eyes reddening as he looked at me. "If you dare go with him, I'll jump from here. I won't live." I took a deep breath, pressing my temples. "Louis, what are you doing? If you don't want to be the laughingstock tomorrow, you'd better get down now." You say I'm making unreasonable trouble, a laughingstock. I'm already the biggest joke. For years I guarded against him as if he was a thief, yet you still flirted with him. You found me annoying for a long time, haven't you? I'm just in the way of your love talks. Fine, I'll die right now and let you be. I'll make it easy for you. Luyi, this is the second floor. You won't die from falling. I grabbed his hand to pull him down from the railing, but he shook off my hand and deliberately fell backward in front of me. Luyi. I was horrified as I reached to grab him, but his body's weight pulled me down as well. In the moment we hit the ground, a pair of hands firmly held me in an embrace. Luyi landed on his back with a dull thud. Seeing the blood trickling from the back of his head, I felt a chill run through me. Luyi, 19. This drama ended with Luyi in the hospital. When he woke up, he seemed to remember the absurd thing he had done. Even when his parents scolded him, pointing fingers at him, he took it silently without talking back, seemingly much matured overnight. After they left, I sighed and looked at Luyi. I never realized before how much drama you could create. Was jumping fun? His response was to silently pull the blanket over his face, a complete picture of despair. I suddenly found it amusing again and pulled down his blanket. The gift you prepared for me. I went to see it last night, and I really liked it. Luyi, thank you for everything you've done for me. Do you really like it? You don't find it childish? I really like it, a lot. He not only fulfilled the wishes of my childhood but also those of my 18-year-old self. I had always longed for my parents to witness me growing up. Luyi made me feel as though they truly had been a part of my growth, never leaving my side. Do you like it more than the gift Yanjiao gave you? Luyi's gaze was intense as he looked at me. My heart skipped a beat when our eyes met. His eyes were so mesmerizing. It felt like they were expressing love, even though he was just looking at me. I averted my gaze and nodded. So, are you still planning to apply to University B? He might not want to hear the answer to that question. I asked teasingly, if I apply to University B, are you going to jump off a building again? He turned his face away, ignoring me. Fortunately, when it came time to submit university applications, he didn't make a fuss anymore, but to my utter surprise, I received 2 acceptance letters from University B. Seeing Luyi's name on one of them confirmed that the courier hadn't made a mistake. I confronted Luyi with the letter. You applied to University B too, as you can see, he said with a smile. Why? I thought you always wanted to go to University A. What do you think? Luyi stepped closer, and I instinctively stepped back until I was cornered against the wall. He rested one hand beside my ear against the wall, leaning slightly towards me. His warm breath on my face. Qinwan, why do you think I did it? Heat rushed to my face, and I turned to run. I don't know. His other hand blocked my path, trapping me completely between his arms. Haven't I made my feelings clear enough? I've been a fool for you. You surely don't think of me as a brother, do you? Isn't that what it is? I'm not your type. I used to think my ideal type had to be someone with a big chest, thin waist, and long legs. I thought these criteria were absolute. But they are only for those I don't love. When I fell for you, all those standards shattered. Qinwan, I like you. Only you. My heart raced, filled more with disbelief than shock. Luyi, go play this game with someone else. Don't joke with me, or we can't even be friends. I'm not joking. I'm serious. But I don't like you, and I'm afraid to like you, because of a past life. He casually dropped the bombshell. I stared at him wide-eyed. You've returned too. Seeing him nod in acknowledgement, all the grievances in my heart spilled out. Since you also remember your past life, how can you say you like me? So liking me means constantly seeking other women. Luyi, you disgust me. Luyi wrapped his arms around me from behind, preventing me from leaving. His voice choked with emotion by my ear. There's no one else. There never has been. I've only ever loved you. I've never touched anyone else. All those other women were just a ruse. I didn't understand my feelings for you before. I thought my concern and possessiveness were just because I saw you as a sister, but later I realized it was different. So when the old man suggested we get married, I was happy, but soon I realized you didn't care about me, my scandals, or whether I came home, so I didn't dare touch you, afraid you couldn't accept it. Luyi then mentioned the woman who had come to provoke me in the past. He never touched her. It was she who drugged him to gain a position, and he merely turned the tables by switching places with someone else. Let that woman suffer the consequences of her actions. Her plans failed and she lost her dignity, so in a fit of rage and embarrassment, she came to me, trying to drive a wedge between him and me, and I foolishly believed her, not even verifying with Luyi before I suggested divorce. You have no idea how heartbroken I was when I heard you wanted to divorce me over the phone. Nguyen, now that we have a chance to start over, can you give me another chance? I didn't respond to Louis because I didn't dare to try again. In the days that followed, I kept avoiding Louis. This avoidance continued until the start of the school term. At this university far from home, the only two people I knew were Louis and Yan Zhao. Because I was avoiding Louis, I ended up spending more time with Yan Zhao. But Yan Zhao was also very busy, immediately becoming the darling of the professors, who frequently asked him for help. Even though we hardly found time to meet, Louis would always follow, sticking around like a lovesick puppy, making it impossible to shake him off. His heartbroken gaze making me feel like a betrayer. One day, Yan Zhao suggested going to see a movie, and I agreed. However, my enthusiasm waned when I saw the sci-fi movie about outer space that Yan Zhao had chosen, which I knew was complex and hard to understand. But Yan Zhao was interested, and I didn't want to dampen his spirits. In the cinema, I was drowsy and went to the restroom midway. Just as I left the restroom, I was suddenly pulled into a hidden corner and held tightly. Startled, I struggled as my chin was lifted and kissed forcefully. With desperation and no finesse, Nguyen, you are mine, you are clearly mine. I was shocked and angry and worried we might be discovered. I bit his lip hard, and he finally let me go. Louis, what are you doing? He held me, burying his head into my neck, his voice hoarse. I'm just jealous of him, insanely jealous. Nguyen, would you care for me? Just let me hold you for a while. Louis held me until the movie ended. Until Yan Zhao called, I pushed Louis away. Let me go. Yan Zhao is looking for me. I had just walked a few steps when Louis pulled me back, biting and sucking on my neck until he left a suggestive red mark. Louis, I said, covering my neck, my eyes red with anger. Nguyen, tell him to go back by himself. October, Louis' birthday. I was still hesitating whether to spend it with him when he called first. I could hear him coughing on the phone. Nguyen, I feel terrible. Can you come and see me? 10 minutes later, I arrived at his apartment. This was supposed to be a place for us to live together, bought by Louis' father. But initially, I decided to live on campus to avoid Louis. I rang the doorbell, but there was no response, so I called him, and no one answered. Worried something had happened, I used my key to open the door. What greeted me was Louis, shirtless, wearing only casual pants, his wet hair still dripping water, the droplets falling down his handsome face into his sexy collarbone and chest. I tried to avert my gaze. You didn't answer the doorbell. I was worried something had happened, so I came in. Nguyen, are you worried about me? I choked up. It seems you're not too sick, so I'll leave now. Would you stay and celebrate my birthday with me? I don't want to be alone. My heart softened, and I decided to stay. His birthday celebration was a candlelit dinner, all prepared by himself. The fruit wine he made was delicious. Although it packed quite a punch, his black shirt was unbuttoned at the top, his skin glowing temptingly under the candlelight. Sweetheart, do you like what you see? Want to touch? Seeing that I didn't respond, he added, tell me what you really think, and I'll let you touch. It looks good. I want to touch. He smiled devilishly, guiding my hand under his collar and across his chest. Sweetheart, you like me, don't you? His lips brushed against my ear as he spoke in a seductive whisper. He looked into my eyes, our breaths mingling. The moment filled with ambiguity and intensity. Do you want to kiss me? Say you like me. Instead of speaking, I kissed him on the lips. The next moment, he took control, the sound of kissing and soft moans amplifying in the quiet of the night. During a brief pause for breath, Louis murmured, you're quite cunning, sweetheart. The next day, I was awakened by screams. Upon opening my eyes, I was met with the horrified face of Louis' mother. Louis, I'm going to break your legs. How dare you take advantage of Nguyen when she's so young? Minutes later, in the living room, Louis was kneeling shirtless on the floor. The marks of our ambiguous activities were visible, making me wish I could just disappear. What had I done to him last night? Was I that fierce, hiding most of my face behind a pillow? I listened to his mother scolding him. Actually, I didn't feel taken advantage of. If anything, I was the one who had taken advantage of him, noticing the marks on his wrists. I tensed, and the blurry memories started to piece together. Under the dim light, I was straddling him. Louis' smile was devilishly charming as he handed me his tie, coaxing, sweetheart, say you love me, and I'm all yours. You can do whatever you want. If you're afraid of loving me without feeling secure, tie me up, lock me up, so I can only see you. Sweetheart, say you love me. As if seduced by a devil, I uttered, I love you. He buried his head in my neck with a victorious chuckle. Sweetheart, I love you too. Now it's time for your reward. Filled with regret, I bit into the pillow. Luya's mother brought me back to reality. Nguyen, don't worry. Luya will take responsibility for you. Let's get engaged now and marry after graduation. How about that? I don't need him to take responsibility. Luya became frantic. Then you have to take responsibility for me. My innocence has been tarnished by you. I'm even traumatized. I can't even think about other women now. You must take responsibility. Why don't you try men? I muttered under my breath. Nguyen. After that, Luya embarked on a year-long journey of being a resentful husband, always letting himself be bullied by me, then asking me for a commitment afterward, and if he didn't get one, he'd complain about being deceived by a heartless woman. It was truly a heart-wrenching, tear-inducing ordeal. Sometimes, in his madness, he would buy various locks for me, lock me up and love me. Okay. I'm truly all yours. What do I need to do for you to believe that? I'm a frugal person. He bought them, so it would be a waste not to try. Once I actually locked him up, he calmed down. Sweetheart, I knew you loved me. But this state of affairs didn't last long. Once Yan Zhao returned from studying abroad, Luya started acting up again. Sweetheart, should I get a tattoo? I'll tattoo your name all over my body. Let everyone know I'm yours. Okay. My eyelid twitched slightly as I thought about it, and my toes began to dig into the ground again. I grabbed his hand and slid a ring onto his ring finger. Mine. Luya burst into tears. I finally have a status now. I promise that from now on, not even a female mosquito will be by my side except for you. On the day Yan Zhao invited me to dinner, Luya showed up uninvited. He was very friendly towards Yan Zhao, but he kept twirling the ring on his finger while talking. After the meal, Yan Zhao gave me a necklace made of meteorite. Nguyen. Each meteorite is like the ancient starlight, a symbol of the passage of time. It has witnessed the universe's journey and recorded millennia. I hope it can also witness our future together. Nguyen, let's be together. Luya stuffed the necklace back into Yan Zhao's hands. Classmate Yan, you'd better stay with your cosmic stars. Nguyen is mine. The next second, Luya carried me away. Back at the apartment, on the bed, Luya kissed me while playfully undressing me. Sweetheart, want to try what a 20-year-old husband feels like? I'll make sure you enjoy it. That joy lasted until the next morning. With one hand on my waist, his husky voice whispered in my ear, Sweetheart, your waist is so slim, I can't take it anymore. Get away from me. I cried out, Sweetheart, have pity on me. I've been celibate since my last life. Luya's unrestrained joy angered me. Afterward, I locked him up. You might as well continue being celibate.